All right, let's hit. All right, I think we're live. What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast. And with me this week, as always, every single week, we have the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? It's been a bit since we did the podcast because you didn't want to do it last week.
I was dead, man.
Yeah,
it's rough out in these blogging streets, man. It is rough times. Yeah, I'm all right, man. Just same old, busy, stressed. That's why I come on this podcast. We can be a bit zen for a day. Let's be zen. Let's have a zen podcast. Maybe we should do the whole podcast in ASMR.
I don't know if people would like that. Some people probably would, but I don't know if I would or not.
Maybe like you could do like ASMR news Xbox videos, like for that sweet ASMR SEO.
Spencer announced some Xbox Series X news.
XXX.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know, right?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Okay. So some people were surprised that we were doing the show on a Wednesday. But last week, or not last week, because you were completely like drained and you couldn't do the show. But the week before when we did it, we did say that we're going to be trying to doing the show on Wednesdays from now on because you're busy on Thursdays. So it's either going to be on Wednesdays or it's going to be on Fridays. And if something really happens and we can't do Wednesday or Friday, then we'll try to make Saturday. But going forward, yeah, we're going to try to do Wednesday as much as, schedules allow. Sometimes Jez is busy, doesn't feel well. Sometimes I'm busy or I'm not doing well. So make sure you guys remember that. It's Wednesday. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me and Jez on Twitter so you always know. So just want to thank everybody for dropping by the podcast. I see Darj Knight, Ice Queen Gaming, Pro Killer Dante, Hans Olo. How's everybody doing? If you watched my last video, I do have to ask this. Jez, I have been sending you revisions that Sean Labrie has been doing. Do you guys all see the new intro that Sean Labrie made for me?
Yep.
Is that not amazing or what?
He's a pro gamer, man.
He is awesome. And he's still tweaking, man. He's still tweaking. He's like, I want to make some changes. I want to add some sound. He's building he's building a overlay for the podcast so it looks nice and pretty and stuff. So
damn.
We're trying to be all professional here, you know what I mean?
Ramping up that professionalisms.
Ramping up the professionalism. Trying to make the podcast look good. And if anybody who's wondering, because I know I'll get a ton of questions, the game that is currently being shown off is Darksiders Genesis. So yeah, I get a lot of questions about it. I put a lot of like footage of that game up on Twitter. People like tweeting me like, what is that game? It's like, oh man, it's the new Darksiders game. So which we'll talk about here in a minute, but we do have a lot of things to cover. It was Monday. What happened on Monday, Jez? It was just like Phil Spencer is just like, you know what? Boom. Xbox Series X specs. Whatever.
Boom.
Not a big deal. February 24th. Oh, you were expecting a PS5 reveal in February? Nah. We get more info about the Xbox Series X. So we're going to talk about that.
Boom.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about. Companies dropping out of PAX and GDC. Could that affect next gen? There's a whole bunch of different topics here. So as everybody kind of files into the podcast, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this out because Google does a horrible job of it. And I want to thank the Scarecrow 121 for becoming the newest member of the channel. And yes, I am actually having some icons and stuff made. Colt Eastwood is going to make me some stuff. So we'll actually get some emotes that people can drop in chat. I know it's been lacking, but we're going to get that done as well. But before we get into all those topics, I got to ask, Jez, what have you been playing, buddy? What have you been playing the past couple weeks? I know you're missing Bleeding Edge. I am missing Bleeding Edge.
Like, it's weird. Like, sometimes you hear music and the first time you play it or listen to it, it's kind of like, oh, that's pretty good. and then like you listen to it more and more, and it sort of gets better and better, and then you just love it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that about Bleeding Edge. Like when I played it at E3 last year, it was kind of like, yeah, this is pretty good. And I played that closed alpha, and I was like, oh, this does have potential. But then I don't know what they did, but they did like some tweaks to the way it felt, tighten up animations maybe, and change the time to kill on some things, and it just feels so good now. It just feels like it just feels right, you know. So yeah, I'm pretty into Bleed Days right now. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Although I think we've pretty much seen everything now, unless there's like going to be new maps, and I think there's one character they still haven't revealed yet on the website.
I wonder if there's like other modes too. Is it just going to be the modes that they had?
Yeah, maybe.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 modes right now. Like where the one with the capture points and one where you have to collect things and then deposit them. I honestly I'd like a payload mode for that game, but I don't know if it'd work with the balance they've got. I don't know. Hard to say. I need to play more to really think about sort of like a final verdict on it, but I am pretty excited for it, and I just love the character designs. I really do. Like cyborg death metal dude with a lightning spamming guitar is just pretty fresh. But other than that, Rand, I've been addicted to 2 Point Hospital.
That's right. Xbox. 2 Point Hospital came to Xbox Game Pass and I believe PC Game Pass day one, because it was the first time it was on Xbox, so it was a day one kind of thing. What is 2 Point? Is it one of those games kind of like... Is it one of those like building games kind of, or like sim games that you always seem to really enjoy, like Frostpunk, but not on that level? Is this a game where you actually like control the hospital and do all the different things kind of... Or am I thinking of something else?
No, that's just it. It's like it's from a team made up of like ex-Lionhead and ex-Bullfrog employees. So like there's a lot of theme hospital DNA in this game, and also like a lot of the British humor that sort of like comes from Fable and stuff like that, tongue-in-cheek, sort of innuendo and stuff like that. Like it's really funny. Like you can like genuinely laugh out loud funny. Like the like assistants speak over the tannoy system and all the announcement system, and they say like sarcastic comments and like, we apologize for the litter you have dropped on our floors and stuff like that. Like I just love that stuff. But like it's actually a really deep simulation as well. Like you have to train the doctors, you have to like manage maintenance and all the different research projects and, you know, research illnesses and all this sort of stuff, and then of course cure the illnesses, manage huge amounts of patients coming in, and then it's sort of level based with different challenges. And I think like they're gonna add a sandbox mode later on, but like right now it's sort of like the campaign mode where you have different levels, and some hospitals are cold and have to be heated, some levels like are student hospitals and you have to train the doctors up from scratch and stuff like that. So each level has a different challenge, but it's just super addictive, and it's the kind of game that I that I like. I like my simulation management games, and it's really deep as well. Like it's not like one of the things that simulation games often screw up is like the balance between creativity and micromanagement. Like sometimes they're just sort of like all creativity and not much micromanagement, and then they get a bit too easy, or the games are not creative enough and they're just too much micromanagement. But I think 2 Point Hospital creates this like really nice balance. So if you like those kind of games, it's on Xbox Game Pass for PC and console. It's a no-brainer. Like, give it a try if you like those kind of games. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's probably my favorite simulation game on the console now.
That's some high praise. And I gotta give a shout out to the Scarecrow 121. He became the newest member, and he dropped a super chat and said, "New channel member. Make sure Jez gets his cut of the $6 a month." No, he made me play Pokemon, so he ain't getting anything. I always remember that.
I don't get a cut on this channel. I'm a slave.
Yeah.
I'm Rand's slave.
Sin Vendetta.
Someone could cut that out and create something out of context from that statement.
Yeah, you probably should. You're definitely not a slave. We're in this together. Sin Vendetta says, it's always a good day when Jez is playing anything other than World of Warcraft and Monster Hunter Worlds. 100%. 100%. It is.
I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft as well. A lot of World of Warcraft too.
But nobody wants to hear it. And there's the man, Sean Labrie. You missed it. I shouted you out, Sean. Your intro's amazing. People seem to really like it. Although Jez said, so when I first sent that intro to Jez, Sean, I was like, Jez, what do you think? Sean's making me this intro. His first thing he said was, you have too many PS4 games. You have too many PS4 games in there, Rand. And I'm like, well, I told Sean the list of games. I just gave Sean a list of games. I'm like, these are the games I really like. I don't know if you could...
Well, it's because I often forget that this channel does things other than this podcast.
No, I mean, we talk about everything. We talk about all the games that we all play. So, and I play everything. So it's like I love God of War. So it's like I'm gonna put God of War in the intro, even though it's an Xbox centric channel. I'd still talk about everything. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I just like I don't know why in my head is like it's like Xbox 2 is the channel.
Yeah, Xbox 2 is the channel.
I know you don't do so much more, but.
But so we were talking about Game Pass, and you said 2 Point Hospital is now in Game Pass. Kingdom Hearts 3 is there. Which, by the way, did we get screwed on Kingdom Hearts coming to Xbox or what? I was talking about this with my buddies last night. So they finally bring over Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5, and it's $50. And then Kingdom Hearts 2.8 comes out the same day, and that's $60. So it's $110. Both those games on the PlayStation are $20 a piece, right? And then next month, there's the whole Kingdom Hearts story, which is everything, including Kingdom Hearts 3 for $40 total. I sat there in disbelief. I was like,
Square Enix are just the kind of... They just seem to just not care about Xbox fans at all. It's like the afterthought console,
I really wanted to pick up Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 because, like, I really like Kingdom Hearts 1. Like, I remember playing that game when I was in high school, and I like Kingdom Hearts 2, and I was like, those are the two games. I don't care about anything else. I just want those. And I sat there, I'm like, I'm not paying $50 for those games. You know what I mean? Especially when they're, like, way cheaper elsewhere. And they're like, sure, I guess I could. But the thing is, it's like, I almost probably am never going to play it. I just want to have it in my collection. But I'm just not going to pay $50 for something that I'll probably never play. I just saw that and I'm like, and then they wonder...
Why would you buy something that you had no intention of playing?
Well, I mean, because like I have the Final Fantasy games and they mean a lot to me and I played them a lot over the years and I kind of wanted them in my collection. Maybe one day I'll like revisit them, but it's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy is what I'm trying to get here. It's like these Japanese publishers don't put their games on Xbox right away. And then they say, well, we don't put the games on Xbox because they don't sell. But they don't put the games on Xbox right away to see if they actually would sell. And then when they do put them on there, like Kingdom Hearts, 10 years later, nobody buys it and they're overpriced. Now you got Yakuza, which is people love. It's finally on Xbox. It's an Xbox Game Pass. I don't really see a lot of people talking about it. So I wonder if Sega is going to be like, well, you know what? Nobody really bought Yakuza 0. Xbox fans must not care for the franchise. We're not going to bother with the rest of them. But it's like, well, maybe if you had the franchise on the Xbox, some of this stuff, I don't like it because it's like such a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, it doesn't sell because of this reason, but then you know what I mean? Like we don't put the game on there because it doesn't sell, and when we do put it on there, it's not until years later. I don't like that.
They probably think like it's enough of a brand that they can milk people on it, and they're probably right. Like anyone who's a Kingdom Hearts fan who's wanted to play on Xbox, they'll probably pay that price. But once they figure all those hardcore fans have already, once they've taken their money, they'll drop the price like a brick and then try and capture the skeptical audience or the cheapskate audience like yourself,
Yeah.
So
the cheapskate audience. It's funny because Jez was trying to trigger me in the DMs today because if you guys didn't notice, Ori had some previews drop today. A lot of different websites put out some articles. I posted a tweet that I grabbed some footage from a channel that I was like, oh my god, look at this, put it, and people see that and they're like, look at that game and it looks so beautiful. IGN has the first 20 minutes up and I have no idea why anybody would want to spoil the first 20 minutes of any game, let alone Ori. Right?
Yeah, I'm like that. If I'm gonna play a game, I try to avoid it. Actually, like I haven't really watched much Doom Eternal footage either.
So I'm like, this looks amazing. March 11th cannot get here soon enough. And Jez is in the DMs trying to tell me like, yeah, Ori this and Ori that. And I'm just like, Jez, shut up, Bleeding Edge this and Bleeding Edge that. Because I'm trying to get back at Jez for Bleeding Edge because I know he likes it. But you're always trying to trigger me, Jez.
I don't know, man. It's just how I roll.
He's like, you're only tweeting about Ori because you like it. Yeah.
Well, I'm reviewing Ori too, so yeah, I'm a big Ori fan.
So incoming 3 out of 5 then?
Yeah. Yeah, well that's the thing. It's like I want to give it a good score if it's good because I like Ori, but I also want to trigger Rand.
Yeah, so you're in that tough position.
I'm in that sort of tough position. But I'm a huge fan of Metroidvania games, and Ori's one of the better ones, isn't it?
Oh my god, it looks so amazing. Just watching just that one clip, it's like I don't need to see any. I never needed to see anything of it. You know,
I'm avoiding it. I've been avoiding it like the plague.
I cannot wait. I need
I
this
just want
game.
to be immersed in it.
I need this game. I'm telling you, man. Like that game is gonna blow people's socks off. Don't be shocked if it gets nominated for Game of the Year. But at the end of the year, even though this year's packed for great games, but yeah, March 11th can't get here soon enough. And as for what I've been playing, boss battles, yeah, some of the boss battles, that's going to have quite a few. As for what I'm playing, as well, it's on screen, it's Darksiders Genesis. Jez, you know much about this game?
I played it very briefly, but before the day one patch, the performance was awful. It was like 20 frames per second, and I was like, I can't play this like this. So I'm hoping that they patched it now, and I'll revisit it at some point.
I didn't have any... There was one part where I had frame rate problems, and that was it. I think they patched the issues that you might have been having when you were playing earlier.
That's good then. That's good.
Shout out to my buddy Loveboat Gopher. He says, not excited for Yakuza on Xbox, but foaming at the mouth for Blue Squirrel Adventure 2. He doesn't like it that I like Ori, and I don't really like Yakuza. Because Gopher's basically a weeb, okay? He's a weeb. He watches anime. He watches all different types of anime. You and him could probably have deep conversations about anime. He watches like every type of anime. Like, I'll jump into my parties with my friends, and if it's like a couple of them, it's like, okay, they're gonna be talking about like One Piece Hero or Naruto or Bleach.
One Piece and Naruto are barely anime.
It's like I'm gonna get.
I just pissed off half the world by saying that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I completely forgot about Yakuza, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Yakuza's out. He's been trying to get me to play it, but I tried it on the PlayStation, and I didn't really particularly care for it very much. So...
What is it? Is it like Grand Theft Auto? Like, I don't actually know really much about it.
From what I played of it on PlayStation, it's... I don't think... It's not much like Grand Theft Auto. It's like a beat-em-up. Is it
linear or open world?
No, it's open world, and you go around like Japan, this like big area, and you like beat up drunk like people, at least in the beginning, and then like you fight like obviously rival gangs, but it's basically a beat 'em up. I mean, the story was pretty interesting. I'll give it that, but man, like I just couldn't get into it, so I don't. I'm probably not gonna play it on Xbox, so I'm just gonna wait for Ori. But Darksiders Genesis, though, Jazz, it's actually quite good, man. It's actually quite good. I was really surprised. I got 2 levels left, and I'm done with the game. So you can tell by the video. The big difference with this is the pulled back camera. It looks kind of like Diablo. But it still plays a lot like a Darksiders game. You can play either as Strife, who's the new Darksiders character. He has 2 guns, so he plays more like a twin-stick shooter. And he's actually I enjoy playing as him. And it seems like the way the camera's set up, it's kind of like meant to be that in a way. But you can either play it like solo or co-op. And if you're playing solo, you can switch between War and Strife on the fly. So if you got a whole bunch of enemies and you want to do crowd control, you can switch to Strife, use your weapons, and then if you got this big hulking brute coming at you, you switch to War, who plays just like War did in Darksiders 1. And and have a good time, and or you can play it in local co-op or online co-op, where like I'm playing as War, you're playing as Strife, and I don't know, man. Like it's a Darksiders game. It just kind of has a different perspective.
I I did play through, I think, the first level with the 20 frames per second before the day one patch, and I was surprised how like it feels so much like Darksiders, like you said. Like how like you still got the double jump stuff, and you still like there's still like platforming elements to it.
There's even like
like
the platforming sucks
like
though.
Yeah,
the platforming sucks because you can't really get a sense of like where you are and like what you're hovering above.
The first time I died was not because of an enemy, but because I was trying to navigate across some metal beams that you had to balance across, and I fell off the edge because it was kind of hard to orient yourself with the camera and stuff, like you said. But
yeah,
I did enjoy it, and I'll probably go back to it if it's been patched up, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problems. I mean, it runs at 30 frames, plays well. It's just, is this the fourth Darksiders game? And you know what the funny thing is? So you got Darksiders 1, and I don't know if you remember how it ended, right? So it ended with War saying, no, not alone. And then you had the 3 comets coming in from the sky, implying that, like, Death, Strife, and Fury were coming. And everybody's thinking, oh, man, Darksiders 2 is going to rock. It's going to be 4-player co-op. And Darksiders 2, which was good, you played as Death, but it was set between the time of the prologue of Darksiders 1. So it wasn't a sequel, it was a prequel. So it's like, okay, cool. And then Darksiders 3 came out, I think, not last year, but the year before, and you played as Fury, but it also was a prequel set between the time War was imprisoned in Darksiders 1. And this one, Darksiders Genesis, is a prequel to Darksiders 1. So it's like, when are we actually going to get a sequel to Darksiders? Is it going to be Darksiders?
I didn't know that. That's weird.
Yeah. Is it going to be the 5th Darksiders game where actually going to be a sequel? But no, I really recommend this game. I had a great time playing it. It looks good. It plays extremely well. If you're playing in co-op, it's probably a blast. I mean, I had a good time playing on my own. It's got the Metroidvania elements because you'll get stuff that you can use, like gear, you can come back to and upgrade your characters and stuff. Like, no loot like in Darksiders 2, but I really like the game. So, yeah, that's what we've been playing. So we're going to be moving on to the topics.
Drama.
So, yeah, what people love to hear, the drama, the big stuff. But yeah, so if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit the like button. Let's get the likes up to, I don't know, 300, 200, whatever. But what do you want to talk about first?
It's up to you, man.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about next gen. But I wanted to. I saw this poll from Ed Boon. We'll kind of like we'll start with this, and then we'll get into the Xbox Series X stuff. And so, did you see this poll that Ed Boon did on his Twitter like last week?
Mm-mm.
So he said, next gen consoles, what's the most important thing for you? So this is for Series X and PlayStation 5. And he had 4 choices. One being affordable price, one being better graphics, one being exclusive games, and the last choice being plays last gen games. And 50,000 people voted. And how do you think this came to pan out? Was exclusive games number 1, Jez? Do you think the most important thing to people is exclusive games?
I'm gonna say maybe.
Maybe.
I honestly don't know.
So
I got a feeling it probably price.
So the most important thing to people was affordable price at 37%.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 2, which I found this extremely interesting, was plays last gen games at 30%. So 67.5% was price and playing last gen games. 19% was better graphics, and a lowly 13% was exclusive games.
Isn't that interesting?
It is, and that's why I wanted to start out with it, because it seemed, well, granted, it's not like a scientific poll, but usually when you talk to people, they'll say exclusive games are the most important thing. And they are important to the library of a console. and the identity of the console. Like, the identity of Xbox is Master Chief in Halo, and Marcus in Gears of War, and Forza, right? Like, that gives the platform the identity and the reasons.
Sort of like, you have to think of this, right? Data can always be skewed in a weird way, and like you say, like, it's not a scientific poll at all, because the vast majority of people replying to him are probably PlayStation fans or PC fans, maybe.
Well, maybe the vast majority of people replying to him are fighting fans.
Well, that too, but the point is that they don't feel worried about having exclusive games because they've already got them and they know they're coming. So they're not like, oh, we're worried about exclusive games because they've got them and they know they have them. They're not worried about that. So if you polled purely Xbox fans, I'm sure exclusive games would have been a lot higher on the list.
I still think the most important thing, if you factor in not only hardcore but also like mainstream, it's definitely the price. Because I think like, even if it had the best exclusive, like, what's coming out next month? One of the most anticipated games of all time, from
Animal
a storied. Well, no, not Animal. This isn't a Nintendo podcast. This isn't a Nintendo. No. Who's looking forward? I mean, I know a lot of people are looking forward to Animal Crossing.
I have all over Animal Crossing, man, and I'm gonna.
There is a game release.
Half of a podcast.
There's a game release next week, right? And this has something to do. Like, I'll tie it into this, but like, I know it's maybe not exactly apples to apples. But it's an interesting, like, talking point, because next week sees the first Half-Life game in like over 10 years, right?
Meh.
But the buy-in to play that experience is extremely expensive, is it not?
Oh yeah, if you don't already own it.
If you don't already own it, it's really expensive. So like, when you look at it, like, what is most important to someone when they're going to buy a new console? It could have Last of Us 2, it could have Last of Us 3, it could have all these games, but if the system's $1,000, how many people are realistically going to buy it? Probably not a lot.
Yes.
Because at some point, the price just becomes too much for whatever is on there. And like, I'm a huge Half-Life fan. I've been dying to play a new Half-Life game, and the fact that Valve is making Half-Life 3 VR exclusive kind of makes me sick. Because makes me sick.
But you said that with conviction.
Makes me sick because I want to play that game, but I don't want to play it in VR. But I want to play it so much where I'm actually considering buying a $700 device to play that single game. But I'm not going to.
Ridiculous.
I'm not going to. No, I've thought about it. I'm like, I want to play that game that bad. But then I think to myself, it's $700. I'm going to play it for one game and then never use it again.
So I feel kind of bad because I bought a VR headset a long time ago, and when I first used it, I was like, "Oh my god, this is great! This is awesome!" And I played like Minecraft VR, and it's truly special. It feels great, but even when you own it, there's like so many annoying barriers. Having to wear something so isolating on your face, it's uncomfortable. It's heavy. It's just it all feels like such an uphill struggle when you can just turn your TV on and just play a normal game. So even though like I enjoyed those initial experiences, my VR headset has been in the drawer for over a year and I just haven't used it. In fact, do you just want mine? I'll just post you mine. And you can play it. You can play it for Half-Life.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Throw it away.
Throw it away. Throw it in the garbage.
Just throw it in the garbage.
Done with it. I'm done with it.
Done with this shit. But seriously, I don't use it. Like, and also it makes me feel sick. Now, a lot of people say to me, like, you have to get your VR legs and you have to, like, play it. And other people have suggested to me, get anti-sickness pills. I'm like, I ain't taking meds to play a game. Like, that's overkill. Like, this stuff should be, like, for leisure. I don't want to get caught up in cables and all that stuff. But like the experience is what makes it great. It just depends if you can put up with all the extra BS that comes with it. And I can't.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because like I used to talk about like how impressed I was by it, but
Lonzo says it's not Half-Life 3. I know it's Half-Life Alyx, but Valve's essentially said it's Half-Life 3 at this point. I'm just saying it's like when you look at like what's important, like I want Xbox Series X, right? And but there's a price like point where it's like, okay, now it's way too expensive and I'm not buying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
that's the point you're making is about price.
It's like even if it had no exclusives, it was just all third-party content. It's like, yeah, for $500, $400, no problem, because I'm gonna play a bunch of third-party games. And of course, I'm not saying exclusives aren't important. They are. They're incredibly important. But it's like when you first buy in, of course, like the price is important because what theoretically or hypothetically, what would be your limit? Like, assume you weren't getting an Xbox Series X for review, you had to pay for it. Like, what would be the point where you're like, no, this is too expensive. I don't care that I'm going to be playing this thing for the next 7 years, and it's going to have a bunch of games on here. I just can't drop this type of money on this now.
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask, because I'm also someone who, I just spent $1,400 pre-ordering the new stupid Samsung Galaxy phone. So, like, it all depends, like, what your budget is. If, like, back in the day when I had a minimum wage job, like a few years ago before I started writing, I think like I probably would have questioned spending like maybe more than £400 on a console. I think, like, for example, I probably would have struggled, like on my old job, I probably would have struggled to justify even buying the Xbox One X on the wages I used to be on. But, I'm not in that sort of financial situation anymore. I'm comfortable enough to be an enthusiast and just buy new tech when I feel like it. But, not everyone's in that position, or people have got kids. Like, I'm super lucky. Like, I don't have any kids or any responsibilities, so I have lots of just, toys I can spend by and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see a lot of people.
It all depends on the individual. Like, if you've got kids, even if you've got a good job, like, kids are expensive.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying $500, €500, $600, and that for me, it's like since I play so much, I'm willing to go up to probably $700, even $800, just because I know I'll get the value out of it. But even after that, like, I would be like, no, that's too much money.
Well, put it this way, right? I had like a Surface Book 2 as my laptop, and it sucked for gaming because the thermals were just terrible. So I happily shelled out, like, because obviously I sold my Surface Book and then put up my own money to buy the rest of the Razer Blade. So I happily spent like over £1,000 just to have a decent PC to game on. So I'm someone who will spend the money to game. Like, I'll happily spend like $2,000 on a good PC or something if I ever come back to getting a desktop PC. And I will. When I get my own place, I'm going to buy like a sick gaming rig. I just don't right now because I want the portability because for moving out. I don't have to move a big tower around.
Yeah.
But this isn't about like the enthusiast market. This is about the mass market. The sort of the person who might only be playing Call of Duty or FIFA or whatever every year, or they're just buying for their kids and their kids just want to play Fortnite or whatever it is. That's the market really that we're talking about. And there will be a hard limit on what that console looks like. Like, you ain't going to buy your kid, or at least my parents would never have bought me even a $300 console for like Christmas or something. They just didn't have that kind of money, So like sometimes I might get it as like, because my birthday's in October, I might have got it like as a combined birthday Christmas present maybe. Or like me and like a sibling might have gotten it as a joint present between the two of us and we'd have to share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But parents ain't going to spend that kind of money. But theoretically, that's what Lockhart is for, right?
The Lockhart, yes. The $299
the mysterious
version.
Lockhart.
Well, that's the thing. So it's like I'm planning on buying Xbox Series X and PS5 this holiday. So I am going to be spending $1,000. I'm assuming they're both going to be $500. And I'm going to pick up them both. But man, what if like one was, it's like, if Series X was 700, like I'd be like, well, I'm gonna get this one, but I don't know if I got room for PS5 anymore. It's
I
interesting.
don't know if I would be shocked if it was $700.
Well, no, obviously, I'm just saying at some point, like, I'm fine with both at 500, but if I'm playing everything on Series X, right? Like that's where I'm gonna play all my games. But if PS5 was like 600, I wouldn't get it because like I already know I'm only getting that system to play their exclusives, and it's only gonna be a couple of years. So it's like at that price point, I just couldn't really justify it to myself. I can justify $600, $700 for Xbox because I'm going to be playing literally everything there. So I'll get my money's worth, but not for the other system. And so it's like interesting to see like these polls. And then I was shocked about back compat. Maybe it's because I don't use back compat, but and maybe it's because digital is much more of a thing now. But it really seems like, both these systems, well, we know both these systems are back compat, but like suddenly it went from nobody caring about backwards compatibility, right, to Microsoft doing it.
Well,
and now
it's a bit
like
different though, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
because back compat came in the middle of the gen, or well, not in the middle, but it came like 2015, I want to say, like a couple of years after launch. So, like, it was. But this is different because when you buy a new console, back in the day, I remember when I bought my 360 for the first time, there's basically no games to buy for it. And when I bought my Xbox One, there weren't that many games to buy for it. So like you want to be able to keep playing Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever on the same system. You don't want to have to wait for like a re-released version or an updated version or whatever. You don't want to have to wait. And in a world where service-driven games are so much of what we play now, having those available on day one on your preferred console is far more important than it was in 2013, I think.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think with the advent of digital, it makes everything like you want that to move forward with you. Like,
yeah.
I own a bunch of games, and the idea of like I'm gonna move on to the next gen and all those games are gonna be there is comforting. It feels like you didn't waste your money and have to start over. But it's just it's weird to just see it being like a non-factor, and then suddenly
it's just what people expect now. It's like when you buy a new iPhone, you don't expect all of a sudden that none of your apps are going to work.
True.
You expect all of your apps are just going to work. It's just what people expect now, and it's kind of like Microsoft has sort of set a precedent with Xbox 360 backwards compatibility that's just going to be the thing now. And I think it'd be hard to justify stepping back from that now. Yeah. Licensing issues notwithstanding.
Well, so let's talk about all this info that since we're talking about the Series X now, because there is a backwards compatible segment, and I thought the most important thing in that article was their smart delivery, but we're gonna save that for last. Like, I honestly thought that was the most important thing in that article because it opens up so many questions, and I mentioned it in my video. Which one of these greedy ass, scummy ass publishers is gonna charge you for upgrades? Right? That was my first thought when I saw that, but we're going to save that for like the end of like this part here. Obviously the tech stuff. Congratulations, Jez, you were right. 12 teraflops. Round of applause for Jez Corden. He had that on December 9th alongside Dealer Gaming. I think we had talked on the podcast it would be 12. I think even before you, or like we talked about the targets, right? So Phil confirmed all that stuff. Like I said before, I don't tech PC. Like, I know what a teraflop is, but I'm not going to try to blow smoke up people's asses and be like, I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. So, it's a powerful machine.
More is better. More is better. So, Matt from MPD posted like some search traffic figures that the search term "what is a teraflop" increased by 3,000% that day.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't have an article about it. So GG.
Yeah. FC Violence says, "Talk your shit, Jez. Come on. You were right. Huh? You had people doubting you. I mean, people on Reset Era were like, it can't be 12 Navi. There's no way, right? I mean, there's people that were no way. It's that high, right? Which it's high, and like it's going to be a very powerful machine. So they got that. They got variable rate shading, which sounds pretty cool. DirectX ray tracing, which I've seen the ray tracing comparisons on YouTube, where like for Control and Battlefield 5, and they look pretty cool. Like the power stuff is great. Like obviously, especially coming from the Xbox One and how this gen started with the system that couldn't run Call of Duty above 720p for a couple years. And a system where you had PlayStation and Shuhei Yoshida being like 1080p makes you a better gamer, right? And Microsoft built a underpowered machine because gaming wasn't the focus, and like TV watching was the focus, and being able to do two things at once was the focus, right?
Do you remember when like it was big news that they freed up some extra resources for developers to use?
Yeah,
because they'd reserved so many resources for apps and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, we freed up those reserves for game developers now. And it's like, oh yeah, it's almost as if you have a games console or something.
Right. Yeah. But so my whole takeaway from this is when I read all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's a gaming machine. That's all I care about. Like, I don't care that it's more powerful than PlayStation. It doesn't matter to me. All I care about is like, am I going to get a system that is the best I can for the money that I want to spend? And Xbox isn't like it's not built for a gimmick Connect, and it's not built for TV watching. Like, this is a powerful system built to play games the best they can possibly be played without paying a shit ton of money for a PC. I don't care. Even if the PlayStation 5 ends up more powerful, which is it wouldn't matter to me at all. I don't really care. So like all that stuff is great, that it's a powerful machine. The other stuff is way more important to me, like the SSD storage, which they already talked about, and the quick resume. Jez, what did you think about this quick resume? About the idea of you could be playing multiple games at once, or have multiple save states of multiple games going on, where
it's funny, Rand, because last week I was gonna leak that, quote unquote, leak it about the fast resume stuff, but then someone on Windows Central pointed out that we'd already covered it, and I was like, have we? And they're like, yeah, it's in a GameSpot interview. And then they linked it to me, and like Phil actually talked about this fast resume stuff.
No, he did. Yeah, he did
in an interview like months ago. But I was like, oh, so I don't actually have a leak then? And they were like, yeah.
And you love your leaks.
I was like, yeah, I do love my leaks. But I was like, oh well, GG. But the thing is, it's kind of like what we have now with the fast resume for a single game, but it's on steroids, so it's not really comparable. So basically what you can do now is, it saves the state, because it's so fast, it can save the state of the game like directly to the hard drive, and it can do that, well, the solid state drive, and it can do that for multiple games. I don't know if there's a limit on the amount of games you can have save states for. I don't know if they talked about that at all, but I heard that from sources that it would been tested with like multiple games, where you could just instead of like where in Xbox, like you get one game in fast resume, and the game has to be coded for fast resume too. Like some games don't even support it properly, and to my knowledge. But this is kind of like you can just switch from one game to another game, and they just be in the same state the whole time. You don't have to close them at all. They just like kind of like how you get like on emulators, where you can save the state of your game, like and stuff like that. So that's one aspect to it, and then the other aspect is this smart delivery you talked about. But that's actually like kind of what we have on the Xbox now, where the Xbox detects whether it's got Xbox One X enhanced stuff, for example, and then it'll download the extra textures if you need them. Like, for example, if I go insane and try and play Fallout 76 again, if I play on 360, it'll only give me the low-res textures. If I play on Xbox One X, it'll give me the high-res textures. That sort of thing. Well, it's the same principle.
I know. I think the idea of quick resume is pretty cool. Like, so I listened to Jason Ronald. He did an interview today with Major Nelson. And Major Nelson was like, I don't know if I should say this, but he basically said he was playing a game and it had a system update. And even after the system update, he went right back where he was. Like the system knew even after an update.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not a person who normally plays a whole bunch of games at once. Yeah, like so even between updates, it knows. You know what I mean?
That's... What? How is that possible?
Magic. I mean, it's a pretty. I mean, it's he explains it a lot better than obviously I could or whatever, because he's obviously making the machine. It's a pretty interesting listen, and
that's crazy.
So like, but for me, like, I don't know how anybody else plays. I usually play one game at a time, and usually when I'm done, I actually quit out of the game. I actually never really just leave it running and shut it down. I don't really use that feature because I find, like, at least early on in the generation, the Xbox, if you left it on or left it running, you could get like a memory leak, and the games wouldn't run right, and you have to shut it down anyways.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like when I said some games don't use it properly, is that sometimes, like when you did resume out of fast resume, the games wouldn't work properly. But a lot of games have just fixed that now. Like, for example, I've got a 2-point hospital running right now on fast resume, I think. And like if I built my Xbox, it'll just jump straight back into where I was, because it's designed to use fast resume properly. But it sounds like they're doing that at a system level now.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes me curious is, do those games have to be on the new system and coded for it? Or is that just going to be a thing that happens automatically?
I mean, they even kind of talked about the way they were talking about it. Like, how like right now on the Xbox, like for 360 games, they have to, like, not every game's enhanced, but there are enhanced 360 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It made it sound the way they were talking. I could maybe have heard this wrong, but every game would be enhanced just because of the Series X and the way everything is. Like, they wouldn't have to do extra work. It would just, everything's better. Which would be crazy if true, if that's what they really meant.
They're going to just like run all the games in some kind of container or something?
I don't know. I don't know, but I gotta hit up these super chats. We'll get back to the discussion. I'm gonna screw up this name. I'm just gonna call him Ellen Speaks. Ellen Chusa Speaks. Not knowing the scientific definition of a teraflop is no different than not knowing the definition of horsepower or megapixels. Media needs to stop crying over that. It's marketing a complex idea in simple terms. Big deal. And Face 23BKNY. Face.
That's funny, because in our article about teraflops, which we did eventually write, our like graphics expert literally compared it to horsepower in cars. So that is funny.
But so Face, which he's the guy I have a bet with about Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC, which I don't know if you saw, had a listing on Amazon France and also on Amazon UK.
Oh, yeah, our news team was posting about that earlier.
Yeah, so, I said I wasn't going to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn on Twitter until Sony officially announces it, but the 3-year anniversary of Horizon Zero Dawn is 2 days from now, on Friday. Ooh. So I wonder if we're going to get a stealth drop of Horizon Zero Dawn on PC, and if so, Face would have to buy me Final Fantasy VII Remake when it comes out on PlayStation 4. That's the bet. If it's not announced or doesn't come out by the time that game comes out, then I got to buy it from him, and if it does come out, he's got to buy it from me. So I'm going to really enjoy my free copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I appreciate that, Face. But anyways, he has a question. He's like, do you think it'll be a big deal if Sony can get the PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4 back and pat on PS5? Will that sway people to their box? I think if they
you mean, are we talking about that old rumor that
rumor that they had like back and pat with every generation of PlayStation?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be big news, and that would be taking what Xbox does with their back and pat and being like, well, we're gonna do it better. We got PS1, PS2, PS3, which is the big one because of the cell processor. They've never really been able to emulate that. You can only stream the games on PlayStation now. We assume all the PlayStation 4 games will be back and pat.
I have no intention of buying a PlayStation 5 in the near future, but like if it did have full blown backwards compatibility with all previous generations, that's something that I would find to be compelling, because I do still own all my old PlayStation games.
It would be a feather in Sony's cap. I just don't think they'll be able to get PS3.
PS3 is probably the issue.
And I mean, I'm sure the hardcore Sony fans will love it, just like the hardcore Xbox fans love the fact that, the 360 games will be there and the Xbox, the original Xbox games. But back to this discussion about Series X. I love the fact that it was just a random day, February 24th, Nobody was expecting anything. Here's some more information about Series X. And this is
I
exactly.
don't think they even briefed press on it. Like no
No, I
one
don't
seemed to have an article. No one seemed to have an article ahead of time. It's almost like they just walked into the office one day and just like, yeah, just post this, no biggie deal.
Adam says, real talk, why isn't grilled cheese available at breakfast, guys? This is what Sony fans should be asking right now. Grilled cheese.
Why isn't what?
Why isn't grilled cheese available at breakfast?
It's not.
I don't know. I love grilled cheese.
I used to have grilled cheese for breakfast when I was a kid.
But I
Just do
really
what you want. You're a grown adult. If you want grilled cheese for
I
breakfast,
like grilled cheese. I'm thinking of getting grilled cheese after the show. But man, I have to. Phil said they were going to be bold. They're going to take risks with Series X, which to be frank, they have to do. They weren't in the best position this generation. You got to change that up somehow. Sony has the luxury of being the market leader. They don't have to speak. They don't have to do anything. And they're not doing anything right now. So everyone's wondering why they're being, and the thing is, people are wondering why Sony's being so quiet because Xbox is being so loud. If Xbox also wasn't saying anything, then nobody would really be like, well, why is Sony so silent? Remember last gen, or for this gen rather, Xbox didn't even talk about the Xbox One until May. So they've been talking about it, like revealed in December, talk about it on in February with this thing.
Do you remember those rumors that the Xbox Series X wasn't like going to be ready and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that the Xbox Series X was behind schedule.
Yeah,
and all this stuff. Yeah.
FUD.
Yeah, all this. That goes out the whole thing of Lockhart was canceled. Remember, it was this big thing. It was like Lockhart was canceled. Xbox Series X was behind schedule, and like all of a sudden one day it feels like, yeah, I got my Series X at home, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And then it was like their take home test going is like, but wait, you just said they're all behind schedule. No, not now. Lockhart is real. What's going on here? And weird things happened. But dude, Microsoft is killing it right now. They are really like talking about their plans for next gen, and they're taking advantage of Sony being silent about everything. It's just they're doing what needs to be done, in my opinion. Like this is what Xbox needs to do. They need to just get Xbox Series X in people's minds out there in the media, so people can look at Xbox as a viable, like, either first purchase or second purchase, to get people to think about Xbox again in a positive manner. At least that's the way I've always been kind of saying it. But the other thing here, the quick resume stuff was great. SSD storage, like being able to like just turn on your system and being able to play is great. But the next generation of back compat, like that stuff is all awesome, even though I don't really use it very much. The smart delivery thing here is great because, and you're right, you already mentioned how we sort of have that now with Xbox One X and Xbox One. Like if you buy, what's an X enhanced game? Let's say Gears 5. It knows what version to download. If you're an Xbox One, you'll get the version that's this many gigabytes, and if you are on Xbox One X, you'll get this one with this version of gigabytes because it's got to download the bigger file size because it's got the like larger textures and stuff like that, right? So it already has it. But the talk about how they are making sure that you buy their games once and never having to like pay again, and you always make sure you have the best version, and immediately CD Projekt Red tweets out that like gamers shouldn't have to pay twice for upgrades.
Yeah.
And how Microsoft says that they're giving the technology for companies to use if they want to, makes me almost think Microsoft is putting pressure on these people to not be greedy douchebags.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right?
I mean, there's literally like, I think Microsoft just wants to get out there that there is literally no reason why they would need to re-release their games, like how they did, like with the whole Skyrim meme. Oh, Skyrim version for that, Skyrim version for this, blah 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 blah. Like they had that excuse last gen, maybe to some degree because of the different architecture, but now they've literally got no excuse. You know, they've got no excuse. And a lot of these games, like stuff like just tweaking the resolution and stuff, it's like it's not even any amount of work to make those changes. Like, so, you know, PC gamers, can you imagine if, like, for example, when they added like ray tracing to Metro Exodus, for example, can you imagine if they said, "Oh, PC gamers will have to pay for the ray tracing version of Metro Exodus"? Can you imagine what the uproar would be like if they tried to do that? So I guess they're just trying to head that kind of bullshit off at the pass.
So do you all right, let me ask you this question. Do you think somebody, like, I know with the Xbox One and Xbox One X, we do already have this in place. Nobody was able to charge for an upgrade. Like, Shadow of War was upgraded, but Warner Brothers couldn't charge for that. Call of Duty was upgraded. Activision couldn't charge for that. It was both the same on PlayStation and Xbox. And it just made sense. But now we're crossing generations. And if you look at this generation, yeah, you know what? If you wanted to play Shadow of Mordor on the 360, you had to buy that version. But if you wanted Shadow of Mordor on the Xbox One, you had to buy that version, right? Remakes and remasters, people had to charge for. Like, there's Burnout Paradise is back compat, and you can play it on your Xbox One right now. But then EA also sells you an upgraded version for Burnout Paradise Remastered. And I think even like Saints Row, and there's a few other games that actually do that, where there's a back compat version where if you already own it previously, you can play it, but there is an upgraded version. Now that's moving from, you know, what was the 360, a Power PC or whatever it was, to x86 architecture, which Series X is x86, so you wouldn't necessarily have that. And I would imagine Sony's going to have a very similar thing. I mean, Sony has had, what, cross-buy? Or is it called cross-buy? Or where like if you bought a PS4 version, you get the Vita version and the PS3 version or whatever. They've had that for quite some time, and obviously Xbox has had Play Anywhere. So I'm just wondering if any of the publishers have the balls to do it.
I want to say no. And also, it's kind of interesting that we call this like next gen, when, you know, it's not traditional next gen, because it's still the same architecture. It's still going to be the same operating system. It's a weird generation, and like any of the upgrades that happen are just going to be like sort of system level stuff. Oh, we'll just like add ray tracing here, dial up the resolution there. You know, it's not like they have to re-architecture the whole game anymore. It's just sort of adding plugins and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's great that it's the same architecture, though.
Yeah, it is great. But the fact that we call it a next gen is largely a marketing thing.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that. I do. I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, will any of those developers have the balls to try and suggest that they deserve another $50 to pay for that resolution and ray tracing? Because if it was a thing where it was like it wasn't going to happen, why Microsoft could just say, and if you bought this version of a game, you get the Xbox Series X version for free. They made sure to point out that it's up to publishers and developers to use it.
The thing is, it's up to the publishers now. It's still up to the publishers now. They can still release like they do it all the time. They release like these definitive editions, don't they? Well, they come with all the DLC and stuff like that. It's not that different. It's the same sort of thing.
See, but
it's just sort of re-releasing the games over and over again.
I was told that Microsoft mandated it, or Xbox mandated it, that they couldn't charge for an upgrade patch between Xbox One and Xbox One X. Like if it was just a patch, you couldn't charge for that.
I have no idea if that's the case or not. I suppose like I could find out, but I don't know if that's the case or not. But those like definitive editions kind of get around that, don't they? Like couldn't a
yeah, but I don't
developer
think they're
like
upgraded though. I mean, they're not upgraded. They just have extra DLC available for
what
price.
If they did a definitive edition and package the upgrade as part of the definitive edition? Could they get away with that?
Now you're thinking with Portals.
Now I'm thinking like a greedy Activision executive.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm wondering. It's like, I think of Activision and how shitty they can be. I'm thinking EA. I'm not necessarily Ubisoft, but I'm just like somebody. It's just But it's like, well, if everybody's not going to do it, are you going to be the one asshole who stands out and be like, yeah, we're going to charge people extra for these next gen upgrades and get people pissed at us? I don't think anybody's going to do it.
You know what I'm going to do, man? I'm gonna reach out to some publishers and just ask them. I'm going to say, are you going to charge for upgrades on next gen console? Given what CD Projekt Red said, and just let them speak. And then I'll put in an article. This is what EA said. This is what this company said. These companies didn't say anything, and I'll just leave it up to them. And then like we can collectively as a community pressure them not to be assholes about it.
Yeah.
And if they're doing like a full blown remake, like Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 2, then fine.
That's different.
You know?
That's completely different. Yeah.
But if you just tweak, add in resolution, or add in some new lighting plug-in, then no, you don't get to charge for that.
But I guess the next thing about Series X is, even though we got the power information and we have the stuff about immersion, like the SSD, they still really haven't talked about clock speeds. They haven't talked about the size of the SSD. They haven't talked about the bandwidth on it. They haven't talked about how much RAM it's going to have. There's still a lot to talk about. Do you think they're going to dole this out like month by month? Like, are we going to be in a situation in March 15th, and Phil Spencer drops something else, and he's like, I just want to tell everybody that the system has a 1 terabyte SSD and this amount of bandwidth, and we also have 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, and this is why it's great. Like there's still stuff to talk about, right?
I think there's still a chance they could do a deep dive with Digital Foundry, like we've talked about before. I think Digital Foundry is like a really great outlet for relaying that sort of information to the general public.
But why not just have an event in April?
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
That I still like. I'm gonna ask everybody in chat. Okay, do you want Xbox to have a press event similar to how they did it for the Xbox One, like they did in May? Do you want them to have another event where they blow the lid off of Xbox Series X, reveal Xbox Lockhart, or do you want them to just wait to E3? Like, I'm kind of curious to see, because I've seen people talk about both ways. Like, oh, just wait to E3. I just want everything to be at E3. Personally, I want Microsoft to be out there talking about the system as much as possible. So, like, there's a lot of things to talk about. Not everybody reads articles, right? And I think people really like the stage show. So, like, if you're going to do an event, I think April's a great time, because you're going to be talking about the games and all that stuff at E3. And there's still a lot of things you need to explain to people. And then there's, of course, the Lockhart. The thing that troubles you... How often you go to my DMs like, hey, Rand, what the fuck's up with Lockhart? Like, what is this thing? I mean, if that's really coming out, which we both think, it is, they got to talk about it at some point, right? Yeah. And they can't just...
Lockhart drives me mad. It's like, it's almost like the name Lockhart is like, because they're keeping it under lock and key or something. I don't know what that is. It drives me crazy. Like, it's really hard to get information about that thing.
It really, I mean, I've heard things about it, not the best things, of course. Other than, like, the only things I know about it is, like, it's real. That's really it. Like, I don't really know. I mean, there's the leaks that it's 4 teraflop Navi and stuff like that, and but yeah, it's this elusive ghost.
It's weird, man.
But I really do think Microsoft needs to do an event, though, in April. Explain everything about the system, Lockhart and everything that goes around that. Show off a couple, maybe, like, here's what, ray tracing's like with it on or with it off, and this is what it does. Game ownership, maybe more in-depth, explain smart delivery and what it means. How does Project xCloud fit in all this? Like, what's the vision of Xbox Live and for the future? Because, like, wouldn't it be a big announcement if they got up there and be like, by the way, multiplayer's free. You can play multiplayer and you don't have to sign up to gold. Wouldn't that be a big announcement too?
That'd be huge, but not gonna happen.
You don't think that's... See, okay, buddy in chat, SubZX, he's been predicting that's going to happen for a long time now. That's one of his he's been right on a lot of his predictions because he knows what he's talking about. And I know he's in chat listening. But the one that has eluded him for a long time is that he's been predicting that Microsoft will get rid of the gold paywall for multiplayer. They'll still keep gold, but they'll just let everybody play for free. And he's waiting for the moment he can say, I was right, and he nailed it. But you're saying there's no way in hell they get rid of the multiplayer paywall. Like, that's always going to be there.
That's mostly just cynicism. It's not like I've seen a document that says Microsoft will never get rid of the paywall. It's just more like, would they really give up that much free money? Is the costs worth the benefit? Like, it's just a cynic in me. It's like with the whole banjo thing in Smash. Like, I just thought, nah, they won't do that because they'll give everyone false hope about there being a new banjo game. You know?
No, nobody wants a new banjo game, right?
Oh man,
nobody wants it.
you just cost us like 100 followers, man.
No man. Shout out to Dealer Gaming. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, shout out to Random Jazz. Some of us knew this thing was a monster. Glad Microsoft delivered on that power. 15 studios hoping for best games possible from first party. All third party games will look insane too. I mean, what else? I mean, that's exactly what needs to be said. You know, we've been saying like Microsoft, like I got killed for saying that Microsoft's last couple years have been lackluster. And I'm like, they need to invest in studios and make better stuff. And they did. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's going to take time to make games. But it's like people didn't want to wait for that stuff. They just want satisfaction immediately. And I understand that. But it's like, here's the system. It's super powerful. Everything's going to play great on it. And we have all these studios making, hopefully, incredible content. I don't know, like, I've said this constantly, but like, I've never been more excited for the future of Xbox. Especially when you compare, like, this year compared to where Xbox was in 2013, Jez. Like, before the launch.
It's been pretty huge turnaround.
The difference is ridiculous. They were shuttering studios back then. It was all about a gimmick connect and an underpowered system, and nobody at Microsoft believed in Xbox. And now you fast forward to this gen, and it's like they're investing in first party. They got all this stuff going on. They got a huge new console that's made for game. It's like, how could you not be excited about what they're doing?
The problem is capturing that mass media zeitgeist. Like,
I guess that's true.
They've made their Xbox fan, like anyone who's an Xbox fan is probably pretty happy about what's happening right now and where things are going. But it's about, can they capture that mass market audience that will lead to developer satisfaction and developers being like, you know what, I will put my Japanese games on the system even though it's not that big in Japan and stuff like that, you know. Can they really achieve that sort of, can they really win back the mainstream is like the question now. So I don't think the question of you know, Xbox fans being dissatisfied is really a question anymore.
Yeah, shout out to Adam. He says if MP goes free, PC loses a big plus to the platform. I mean, I think it just makes it equal at that point. You wouldn't have people saying, well, like, oh, well, gold's, you know, multiplayer is free on the phone and on PC. It was just like everything's just the same everywhere. And then P. Diddy says, why doesn't Halo look next-gen like Hellblade 2? Well, I mean, we haven't seen the Series X version of Halo yet, you know? So we'll wait to see what it looks like, you know, presumably at E3, because I think that's when they'll talk about it next and show it off, you know, gameplay finally.
I think like, I don't know if like it's going to suddenly jump to photorealism. There's like there's a style thing about Halo Infinite that definitely isn't like on the same level of photorealism that we're seeing from Hellblade right now. I personally think.
Well, you know what's, I wasn't really impressed with the Halo Infinite trailer, the one they showed at E3, until I watched it in 4K on my television, and then I could see the differences. Like, it didn't really come across that well or that good on stream, like on the Twitch stream. But the 4K version of that, you can definitely see like, yeah, you know what, this does look next gen if that's what they're going for.
I'll check. I'm gonna check it out in 4K. Like now that you've said that.
Yeah, you should. Like,
I ain't the biggest Halo fan, but
I mean, I don't watch YouTube on my TV. I watch it on my monitor, but my monitor's only 1080p. My TV's 4K. So like, I just don't. He's like, you just watch that trailer on your TV, and I did, and I was like, all right, I see what you're talking about now. So that looks ridiculous.
I'm gonna watch the Hellblade trailer on my TV. I'm gonna watch all the trailers on the TV. Now you've said that.
Yeah, you should watch the Ori trailer on the TV. So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Sony dropping out of PAX and GDC and all this stuff?
We can do.
This is an interesting stuff because
people have tried to push this as an agenda thing, right?
What do you think? So to set it up, PAX East is this week. Sony dropped out. A bunch of other companies dropped out. I don't really know offhand how many. Like I think Square Enix dropped out, Capcom dropped out, a bunch of others have dropped out, and then GDC, Facebook dropped out, EA dropped out, whole bunch of people and dropped out or whatever. What's your initial take on this? I know some people were saying
a lot of people were saying Sony were doing it to avoid public scrutiny or whatever, but I think that's bull. Like legit, that's complete crap.
You think
like
so?
I think like the truth of the matter is like this is like it's a pretty serious infection, and it's like it's worth taking the precautions against it, because if you lose your key art director or your key like studio manager or something like that, that's going to be so disruptive. And I don't mean like they'll die, because I'm not saying they're going to die, but like even just being in quarantine or being out for a few weeks to recover, like it's just a risk not really worth taking. So I think it's smart to pull out of those events. Like Mobile World Congress, which is like the E3 of mobile technology, that was completely shut down by coronavirus. Like, and that's a show that's attended by 50,000 or so, like business to business people from across the world, and like it's actually like a huge. The Barcelona government didn't want them to shut it down because it really hurts their tourist economy and stuff like that, and they had to shut the whole thing down. And that's not because those companies didn't have anything to show. It's because it's like there's a reasonable reason to think it's risky enough not to do it. So, and there's always those memes about convention flu and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's always
this is the convention flu you don't want to get. So
I do have to.
I don't think Sony was avoided.
Before we continue, I think we hit a podcast high, Jez, because we have like 980 people watching.
Oh my god!
Which I think is the high for this channel. So welcome everybody. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe.
Oh
let's see if we can get it up to over 1,000. Let's see if we can get up into RDX territory. Those guys are always over like 1,500. Like I watched a little bit of RDX yesterday. Cold Eastwood, Dealer Gaming, Fonzarelli, although he sounded like he was about to die. D Batch and Little Zocker baby bitch. Yeah.
Why are you so mean to Zolka, man?
This is my thing. He's just like my little brother. I'm always mean to my little brother. You know what I mean? It's all love, though. It's all love. They're always like 1,600. They're the Xbox podcast, and they do a great job. And I'm grateful that people that love our podcast too, and they listen to me and you talk about stuff. So
let's start a rivalry with RDX then. Let's beat them.
We can't beat them.
Let's beat them.
They got Cold Eastwood.
We can beat them.
So
let's get some real celebrities on here. Like, I don't know. I can't think of anyone. Who's a celebrity in the Xbox community?
You are, aren't you?
I don't know about that.
You don't know about that. Let's see. I thought I had. Oh yeah. So we got a super chat from Game Genie Prime. It says the Xbox Series X is a hoax. It's a scam. Microsoft isn't a real company. PS5 55 teraflops. Eat it, bitches. All right, you convince me. You know.
55.
55 teraflops. It's going up.
Like you can mine Bitcoin on that thing.
Yeah, I know, right? So here's my thing on it. I did find it interesting that Sony was like, we're going to be there at PAX East, and we're going to have this Last of Us demo. And then 4 days later, they're like, no, we're not going to be there. It reminded me of them announcing the release date for Last of Us, and then 2 weeks later delaying Last of Us 3 weeks. I thought it was just weird, and it was like, well, so what? I thought to myself, like, well, what changed in the 4 days to make them go from announcement to then like, okay, we're not doing it? Obviously, coronavirus got worse, and then they pulled out of everything, and obviously there was people on Twitter using it for console war, which I thought was just stupid. Like,
it's kind of bad taste too. Like, people are literally dying.
Well, it's like I do wonder about the legality of like a company sending you to like for work to somewhere with the possibility of getting like coronavirus. Would the company be legally responsible at that point? And you know,
yeah,
like if I go to like a Bulls game here in Chicago and it's my own free will, and it's like, okay, so I happen to go and I get coronavirus, that's on me. But like if my company's sending me to go and I choose to go, or they send me to go and I get it, can I sue the company for making me go to the thing? You know, I wonder if there's like a legality thing there as well that like they just can't, they don't want to have to deal with. So there's like, let's just not talk about it. So there's that and that. So, but the big thing, because it's like, honestly, I don't care that they pulled out. Health should come first. And since I'm not going to PAX East, I'm not going to GDC, it doesn't even affect me whatsoever. It doesn't even affect a lot of people. Like, I mean, I'd understand if you bought tickets
for people who wanted to go.
Well, exactly, which is you know, not a lot of people. And I understand, like, hey, I bought tickets to PAX East. I was really looking forward to you know, playing the Last of Us demo. It's no longer there. I get at least being disappointed from that aspect. Like, you spent money to go, but like if you had no intentions of going, it's like, what do you care? You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But the thing that is really interesting to me outside of like this virus overtaking the world, like you have the CDC talking about how, you know, it's basically going to be here in the United States soon. It's going to affect people's daily lives, which is weird to think about. But like, I'm worried about next gen, Jez. I'm worried that it gets so bad where they can't make the consoles in China, or the workers can't, you know, build the consoles, and the PS5 and Series X are delayed to 2021. How much of a possibility do you think that is of happening?
I think like it's definitely a possibility. I mean, they do say like the virus has peaked in China right now, but that doesn't mean like it's not still devastating and it's affecting supply chains. And it's like, it's not just like, it's like the whole supply chain, right? It's like right from the raw materials that come out of the earth all the way up. And there's a lot of countries that are just starting their own story with coronavirus. Like Italy's getting it quite bad right now. There's a few cases confirmed in Germany, and I live quite near to Italy, I have to say. So I'm not going to go outside ever, but that's not hard for me anyway. But regardless, you know, it's it could affect things, but it could also just, they also think like they're optimistic about its seasonality, and I think as temperatures get warmer into spring, like it'll you know, people's boosted immune systems or whatever will just sort of hinder the spread of it. But I don't know, man. IDK. I'm not a doctor, contrary to what you might believe, Rand.
How big of a deal would it be if they had delayed the consoles to like March of 2021? Or what if one of them had to get delayed? Or what if one of them delayed it but the other one didn't? It was like, all right, PlayStation, we're made the decision, we're gonna launch in March 2021, and Xbox is like, we're gonna launch in September of 2020. We're gonna get out first and just launch ahead of time. Maybe not really launch that many units. Like, I do think that's something you have to watch out for. And but that would suck. I mean, like, I've been looking forward to the next gen consoles, you know, since what we're talking about last year. And like, man, if that stuff got delayed, and then not only the consoles, I mean, but what about E3, Jazz? Are you going to E3 this year? Is there a good chance that could be affected?
I think it depends. Like if what they say about the seasonality stopping the spread of the disease, then by June maybe it's sort of subsided enough for E3 to go ahead as planned. But if like there are some doctors that say like the warmer temperatures might even make it worse because some flus thrive in the warm temperatures. I don't know. So I mean, this is at least if I'm remembering the article I skimmed over correctly. But as I say, don't take this podcast as legal medical advice. Seek the authority of a local professional health director or whatever. Disclaimer, but I don't know. I think by E3 it'll be.
I mean,
personally,
I hope so.
I don't think it's going to be any worse than it is.
Like
you're thinking it's going to go full blown division.
No,
division
I mean I'm not thinking
apocalypse.
that's what they're saying. Like the CDC is saying, "Yo, this is going to affect significantly affect daily life," and I'm like, "Well, what's significantly?" You know what I mean?
It's so vague. Like I saw like there was an art because every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is like swipe to the left and read the news headlines. And like there was an article in the Atlantic that was the article headline was just "You will get the coronavirus." I was like, "Oh, great! Thanks, the Atlantic.
You will get it.
You will get the coronavirus." And it's just like, wow, that's really what I wanted to read today.
Shout out to Gaming Forte for the super chat. He says, "Shout out to Rand and Jez. Glad Xbox is heading in the right direction with upfront and aggressive marketing. Keep up the great work as always." Thank you.
Speaking of aggressive marketing,
yes.
And thanks for that super chat, helping Rand pay off his Ferrari.
Yeah, my Ferrari.
But people often complain that Xbox doesn't market hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
And one place where that is often true is like mainland Germany, right, or mainland Europe,
right,
where typically they market harder in the UK and stuff like that, or at least that's what the perception is. I ordered a box of Kellogg's Tresor cereal, which are like this. I think they might be German. I don't know if you have them in America, but we don't have them in the UK. So they're like a little breakfast cereal with little bits of chocolate in them. They look kind of like treats that you give a cat, kind of, but they're really nice. And lo and behold, right on the box, there was a huge get free month of Game Pass with this box of Kellogg's cereal in German. And I was like, oh wow, they're marketing Game Pass. They're actually paying for marketing for Game Pass in Germany. So that was interesting to see.
That is pretty
little random.
I've seen Game Pass marketing on boxes of Pop-Tarts here in the States.
Oh, I love Pop-Tarts, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't had a Pop-Tart for like 15 years or something.
And we got another super chat from P. Diddy. He says, "Rand, can you make a vid of what you think studios are up to?" Cold Eastwood has made a bunch of those.
I've got an article about that.
You got an article about that, but
don't watch Rand's video. Just read my article.
Maybe I'll make a video about that. But let's briefly just go over the studios and what we think they're making. Okay, right? I think that'd be interesting. Sure. Let's start off with Playground. What do you think? Forza Horizon 5, clearly, right? One of their studios is working on. What people really want to know is what is their other studio that is making the RPG. What is the RPG, Jazz? Can you say it for everybody in the back listening? Because we have over 1,000 people watching.
Pokemon clone.
We're making. Oh, okay. So what is the game? What is the game Playground's making?
I don't know, but the expectation is that it's Fable.
How many times have you said it's Fable, Jazz? You just say it.
Well,
just say it's Fable.
I'm not gonna put my stamp on that.
You're not gonna put your stamp on it?
Especially because the last I heard about that being Fable was quite a long time ago. So what if they've changed it? What if they've changed it to their own universe?
I mean, I've heard recently that it's Fable, 100%. So if it's
you know me, I don't like putting a stamp on it until I've seen it with my own eyes.
You know what? For this E3, you know what they should do? Because I was thinking, like, what would be a good way to start out this E3? I was thinking, you can't start out E3 with Halo, because you did that 2 years ago in 2018. And you can't end E3 with Halo, because you ended it last year. So you have to start out with something different. I think you just start out with bang. You just start off with Fable immediately. Just right out of the gate, here's Fable. And just get it done and over with. And then you close it with this game.
I don't know.
You close it with this game. What is the initiative working on? I think the initiative... Okay, go. You go first. You go first.
Well, actually, I suppose it depends on what the initiative's actually working on. I think like if what the initiative's working on is like this photorealistic, super impressive, super slick game, you could close out on that.
Mm-hmm.
But like but I also think like closing out on Fable would be good too because it's like a well-known thing, and also you're gonna hit that nostalgia note with a lot of people, and hitting that nostalgia note is gonna maybe bring back some of those gamers that you've lost over the years, you know. So I don't know. I think Fable could be the true headline.
It probably is, but I was just thinking like, just start it off. Start off the show.
I think I'd rather if the initiative's working on a completely new IP. I think they should start the show.
So I was thinking, start the show with Fable. That's what Playground's working on. You end the show, the initiative, Perfect Dark. Because I think that's what they're working on. Because I mean, it could be a new IP, and we could make a million guesses at what it was, but let's say Perfect Dark is what they're working on. I know some people will like that, some people won't like that. It'll definitely be mixed, but we'll have to wait and see what it actually is.
The thing is, it's like the brand of the game doesn't really matter because like 2017's Prey was a Prey game, but only in name. It was like nothing like the original, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like completely different. So like they can call it Perfect Dark and have the hero, but it could still be like completely different, kind of like what they did with the Joker movie. Like it was a Joker movie, but it was so different compared to like what we typically think of as a Joker. They could do that with Perfect Dark as well.
Fair. All right, yeah. What about Turn 10? Forza Motorsport 8? Obviously.
Motorsport. Ray tracing, graphical showcase.
120 frames, yeah.
Because I mean, ray tracing,
120 frames, all that good stuff. It'll be there. That's what they're working on. Ninja Theory, obviously we already know. Bleeding Edge comes out in a month. It's your game of the year. Hellblade 2. Do you think we get a gameplay trailer at E3 for Hellblade 2?
Oh, actually, Hellblade 2 could open E3 because that's something we already know about.
That is true. It could show off some gameplay.
I think Hellblade is probably the game I'm most intrigued about right now.
You love the band too, the one that
I'm obsessed with the band. I listen to them at least like 3 or 4 times a week at the moment. I'm obsessed with that band, and they're doing the theme track, the soundtrack for Hellblade 2. So I'm really hoping. Like I enjoyed Hellblade 1. Like I really love the atmosphere and the art and like just the concept of the game, but I do hope that Hellblade 2 is sort of more expanded in scope. That's kind of what I personally hope.
What about Project Mara? Maybe get like a reveal of the name and like some details or.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that is like. I think maybe it's too early for that.
I think it's too early for Project Mara. Okay.
I think what they'll do is they'll focus their efforts on Hellblade 2. And then Project Mara will be the thing they talk about after the fact, maybe.
So next, I don't have the list of the studios, but next off the top of my head, Coalition. You think the Coalition will be there in any way, or not necessarily E3? What do you think the Coalition is working on next? What's the game they're working on now?
I have no idea. I mean, I know they're finishing off. They're working with Splash Damage to finish off the rest of Gears Tactics,
which will be out in 2 months.
Yeah, maybe they haven't even come up with what they're working on next. There's probably like a bit of upheaval at that studio right now.
I think they're working on Gears 6.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think we'll see it at E3, but I do think their next game is Gears 6.
They kind of have to finish off the trilogy, right?
They do, but I mean, I would like to have them to made something new and then come back to Gears, a little bit later or something like that. Let's see what else. 343, obviously Halo Infinite. Do we think there's another project going on there? I know they're working on the PC versions of the Master Chief Collection, like Halo 1 is in.
I think they're just swamped. I think they're just swamped with Halo 1 PC right now.
Yeah. Let's see what else. 343. Rare. Obviously,
Rare's working on Everwild.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves updates.
Sea of
so
Thieves.
I think we'll see Everworld. I do think we'll see that.
Is it possible that there's a Banjo game being made by Rare? Or Rare's working on a Banjo game with somebody?
I have no idea.
Do you want that to happen? I'm gonna just ask you that. Do you want?
I want it to happen for the fans because those fans are passionate dudes. I personally don't care, but
do you think it would be better to make a brand new Banjo game or remaster the first one, like remake the first one? I guess
both. Do both. Why not?
Do both. I know what Cold Eastwood would say. Hell no to Banjo. Hell no to Banjo is what he does not want Banjo whatsoever. You know what? Neither do I.
That is mean.
No Banjo, no Conquer, and quite frankly, no old Rare IP whatsoever. I don't need it. I don't want it.
Killer Instinct is a Rare IP.
Killer Instinct is. Yeah. Why isn't there a Killer Instinct 2 already, Jez? Why aren't we getting one?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I did have a thought. Like, Ninja Theory could make it. Why are you laughing?
I mean, they could. I mean, I guess they could, but I mean, if you're Ninja Theory, do you want to? Wouldn't that be kind of a demotion? They're trying to like work on like cinematic games and stuff, and there's like
I mean, the team that's worked on Bleeding Edge could make it.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Obsidian. They got Grounded.
They're a two-team studio, Ninja Theory. So Obsidian, well, they're working on Grounded. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about before, they're rumored to be working on something Skyrim-y.
Skyrim-ish, yeah. And then obviously probably an Outer Worlds 2 game. Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah. I think Outer Worlds is going to be one of their pillar franchises, so yeah.
In Exile, your lovely studio that you love. What are they going to make after Wasteland 3?
Apparently, they have like a bunch of projects right now, apparently. So like, they've got Wasteland 3, which fulfills their contract obligations with, I want to say, is it Koch Media? I don't know. But like, there's a bunch of publishers involved in that game. So like after that, I suppose the IP reverts to Microsoft. But so after Wasteland 3, I don't know. They've got like the Bard's Tale franchise, and like that's like got a really passionate fan base, like a small cult fan base. But the games have never sort of had like next gen sort of quality. If they can get Bard's Tale up to the sort of level of quality that Wasteland 3 looks like it's at, that could be interesting to see.
Okay.
But I don't know.
So I got to shout out
RPG studio through and through, though.
We have like 1,040 people watching, Jazz.
Oh my god!
New number. Make sure you guys hit
the like button. You guys are awesome.
I know, right? The support's been amazing, and I think people are just really excited about Xbox, Jazz.
That's cool,
on your end, on Windows Central, how's the traffic been for Xbox related stuff like recently? Has it been higher than normal?
It has, I mean, Windows Central is like, because Windows Central used to be Windows Phone Central, right? Mm-hmm. And we used to, and at the time there was like tens of millions of Windows Phone users back in the day, and obviously Windows Phone got completely killed, so we had to pivot away from that, and like we've grown massively from covering Xbox. So, but there is one Xbox article that's currently sitting at the top of our post today that isn't particularly something that I would love to have reported today about Mixer.
So we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to go through the rest of the studio. So In Exile, Compulsion Games. Compulsion.
They're the studio that probably have the most to prove right now, right? Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I think they'll make some, like, the thing that Compulsion has really going for them is their sort of dark, twisted art style. So I'd love to see more of that personally. I don't know how you feel about that, but I like it. So I don't know. I'd actually like to see what a game like We Happy Few would look like executed with more finesse, maybe. Because do you remember that first trailer and it had like really great vibes, dark, Bioshocky?
Yes, it looked amazing. Sort of, and then I played it and I was like, "Ooh, what is this?"
Yeah. So, like, imagine that they deliver on what they were sort of pitching with that trailer. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that. I would want to play that game. So maybe screw it. Maybe they make We Happy Few 2 or something.
Nah, no. We Happy Few. They need to make something brand new. And they are the studio to me that has the most to prove. And I've been pretty vocal about like, I just don't know why they must have been. You must have got them for a ham sandwich. You know, like
Ham sandwich.
Like We Happy Few's not good. What was their other Contrast? It's all right. It's not a studio that's like you look at and you're like, yeah, I need to buy. I don't know. Like maybe Phil and Matt Booty saw something with them, like some creative thing, and all they needed was just don't worry about everything, just make the game. So we'll have to see. That's the big question mark for me is them. Double Fine. We know what Double Fine's working on what Psychonauts 2, and
and didn't they acquire or reestablish the rights to Brutal Legend IP?
They did, I think so, but I'm not sure on that.
I remember. I think it was them because there was always that question of like, does EA own the IP and stuff like that? I swear to God, man, I would love another Brutal Legend because that game had some really cool concepts in it.
Yeah,
but it was kind of like, if like, can you imagine if they made it like a Zelda like more? Because the best parts of Brutal Legends was like its Zelda-ish gameplay. Like if they doubled down on that aspect of it and sort of leave the strategy, the pseudo strategy game stuff out, which is like nice to have tried, but it didn't really work that well. If they leave that stuff to the side and make a game that's sort of like an action RPG, maybe a bit like Darksiders, a bit like Zelda, maybe with sort of like open world stuff, get Jack Black back in, I would be so happy. Brutal Legend was so funny and so good. I just love Jack Black.
Yeah,
I kind of like wish he was my dad or something.
Well, so LMNPO says in the super chat, Jez, that Compulsion is making a story-driven third-person game via the Iron Lords interview, which the Iron Lords, which is a great group of guys, Cognito, like Cognito, King, Lord Addict.
Shout out to those guys.
They had
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had Compulsion on a couple weeks ago, and they did confirm that it was
I totally
a
missed
third-person
that.
game. Yeah,
I need to go hit that up.
They just had Jason Schreier on their show too.
Wow.
Talking to him. We also got Alpa in Super Chat saying, what if Lockhart is cloud compute only and your Xbox One for local compute, rumored set-top box, plus $4.99 per month equals play next-gen games at 1440p 60 frames? I mean, I've heard from a few people that Lockhart is definitely a console. It'll also be the blades and the server blades for xCloud for next gen, but it's also a console. Man,
it drives me up the wall. Like, I wish I could get some solid information on that.
Yeah.
But it's intriguing. It's intriguing. Like, the very fact that Xbox Series X is called Series implies that there's more than one of them.
It sure does.
If you don't call something series unless you're going to do more than one. So, there's going to be a Series Y or a Series Z or something. Or Z in America. Why do you have to butcher my language so much, Brian?
I don't know. Maybe because we decided to do whatever we want with the language because we beat you guys in the war, As I would say to Darge Knight, we beat you in the war. You lost. Face wants to know, what do you guys think of the Resident Evil 3 remake previews? Did you read any of that, Jez? Before we get back to the Xbox Game Studio discussion, did you check out any of the previews? Or did anybody at Windows Central? The Resident Evil 3 previews?
Nope. Afraid not.
I did see that Jill has like an action role now. And that the difference between Mr. X and Nemesis is like, he's coming to screw you up. He's not just walking around. He's like jumping all over the place and breaking down doors and stuff to get to you.
But he's like, I remember the original Resident Evil 3. Like, I actually found Resident Evil 3 to be the scariest, maybe the scariest game I've ever played, because I was so... Well, first of all, I was pretty young, but second of all, I was kind of like, I was really expecting Nemesis to not be able to walk through walls. Because in Resident Evil 2, when Mr. X, there are a couple of scenes where Mr. X punches through walls and stuff, but they're very obviously scripted, and they're very obviously like, they were kind of obviously placed, you know what I mean? Like, they were jump scares and stuff like that, but They weren't that scary. But when you're in in Resident Evil 3, when you're in a sequence where Nemesis is chasing you, like the music of the game changes. Like even like when you're in the save room, like the mood was different. Like it was like this foreboding sort of overture, and it was like, yeah, as soon as you step out of this save room, Nemesis is coming after you again, and there's nothing you can do about it. So the whole deal with Nemesis is that he's engineered to want to kill the STARS members, and like he's supposedly far more sophisticated than Mr. X, so like an advanced super killing, bioweapon. So in Resident Evil 3, like the fact that he could break down doors more dynamically and follow you through walls, like that, follow you through rooms, that like terrified me as a kid. I like had a full-blown panic attack when like I was in the police station and Nemesis was just kept coming at me. I was like, please leave me alone. But it does seem like they're going to play on that whole thing, like the fact that he's like more agile than Mr. X and perhaps less predictable. The fact that Nemesis was less predictable in Resident Evil 3 is what made him so scary.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll play up that aspect of it when they make Resident Evil 3 Nemesis.
I did see some people concerned that it's a little bit more actiony than Resident Evil 2. I don't care. I can't wait to play the game. P. Diddy wants to know. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, they already sort of adapted Resident Evil 2 for modern audiences. Like, you couldn't even strafe in the original Resident Evil 2. You had to turn around in a circle, like the tank controls, right? Mm-hmm. So they already sort of made it more actiony just by the fact that they modernized the control schemes a bit. So as long as they don't go like overboard with it, I think it's probably a good thing overall to bring more people back to the franchise. As long as they don't go like full blown, oh, by the way, Matrix stuff. I hate that. Legit.
So P. Diddy wants to know, do you guys think P3, who's Phil Spencer, and others watch your show? So I'm assuming others, he means people at Xbox. Phil's told me that he's watched before. I think he checks it out from time to time. He does like to hear what people are saying about the brand. I mean, we've had Mike Ybarra on the show, and I've seen him in the chat. Not recently, but he's been around. And I know there are weekly listeners to the show for people who are from Xbox that listen to it. And Jez, you say like you get people that from like companies like Ubisoft and Activision that watch the show too, right?
Yeah, I know a few people from some of the publishers that watch the show. Which
is ridiculous. It's like, hi, how's it going? Sorry I said Ubisoft and Activision were scummy companies. My bad. I didn't mean that.
Well, it's sort of like, first of all, a lot of them probably don't make the decisions that make us think they're scummy companies, but it's also like, it's kind of important that you give your unfiltered opinion to these companies so they can improve. Like, if you've just been a cheerleader the whole time, then it's not good for the companies you like, because you'd be a yes man and stuff like that. But at the same time, just being negative for the sake of negative, it just means you've got an agenda. So the way I like to do it is celebrate the good, call out the bad, and try to be optimistic. That is literally my ethos when it comes to covering this, though.
Yeah. And Robert says, hope Everwild is a Zelda type, Cyberpunk is third party, but Xbox has marketing rights. It'll be a big E3. So excited for E3. Hope they don't disappoint. I think it'll be good this year. I've heard a few things which I'm not allowed to say publicly yet. I eventually will. Ooh. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about E3. I'm pretty excited about like Xbox just in general. So we were talking about Compulsion. Did we go through all the studios? Because I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. World's End's doing stuff with H4, but that's Relic, right? What other studios are there? There's still like Xbox Global Pub
3.
Yeah, Undead Labs. They're obviously probably gonna be doing State of Decay 3. What else? I think we've went through them all. Mojang, they're obviously going to be continuing to do Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons.
Minecraft Dungeons is going to be Microsoft's biggest game this year.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. And I think that's really it for the studios. Off the top of my head, we do have a question from Elemental. He says Series X will be featured in Japan for TGS 20. What does this mean to you?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, it's the first time Microsoft's done a TGS in like ages or something.
Are they have they said, or is it conjecture that they're going, or is it confirmed 100% that they're going?
I don't know. I saw a few people say it.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say it too, but I don't know if it's like just conjecture or if
it might be conjecture then if you don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Like I hope they are.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, look into that. Well, then there's also global publishing, Jazz. So you got like Flight Sim with Asobo. Is there a chance like Microsoft, after working with them, are like, hey, we like you, come join our collection of studios?
I think so. Did Asobo do Plague Tale Innocence?
They did. Yep.
I think like that'd be a huge pickup for Microsoft. Like, it really would. I think like that'd be a great way to round off those studios. You know, but I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see.
There'll be some games from studios.
Phil did basically say they're not done looking for studios, right?
Yeah, they're not done.
They said that they're always on the lookout for companies that fit into their culture and share their sort of eagerness and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not done. So there'll be games from like I'm sure maybe there'll be a Japanese game. Phil did go out to Japan recently. Maybe they're talking about games for launch.
Lost Odyssey 2.
Lost Odyssey 2. Maybe Kojima's next game. What if Kojima's next game was on Xbox? Jazz?
What if Kojima's next game is Lost Odyssey 2, man?
No, what if Death Stranding 2 was Xbox exclusive?
That'd be dumb. like after the first one was exclusive to PlayStation?
Yeah, what if he's just like, all right, I'm taking Death Stranding 2 to the Xbox.
I still haven't finished that.
I wonder why. Seems like you loved it, and then you got to chapter 3, and you just kind of fell off like most people do when they get to Death Stranding.
I was really enjoying it. I don't know what happened. I was just like, I'm going to take a break from this for a little while. And then I just never went back to it. Mm-hmm. And now I just kind of feel like I have no motivation to go back to it. It's weird. Mm-hmm. But I was enjoying it, and I found the story to be quite intriguing, but now I just play WoW all day.
All right, so let's talk about Mixer, Jez. What the heck is going on there?
Oh my god, this was really annoying. Like, I was going to bed yesterday at about 3:30 in the morning after binge watching Storage Wars on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Please kill me. And because I was trying to empty my head, and then I got this I can't remember actually who told me about it.
I mean, I sent you it.
Well, a bunch of people, I think, sent me messages on Slack to our like virtual company office room. People were like, "Oh my god, look at this!" And on Microsoft, on onmsft.com, who are like a pretty good Microsoft blog, someone reached out to them and reached out to Business Insider as well, and leaked with the new head of Mixer. I want to, off the top of my head, I think her name's Shilpa Yadler.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she recently joined Microsoft from Amazon, and she worked in Amazon's sales division or something. So Amazon, of course, has Twitch, but I'm not sure if she's exactly familiar with the business or not. But you have to hope that she at least, made a good pitch, because Microsoft hired her, But in this meeting, which, by the way, I noticed was heavily truncated, and whenever I see these meetings and clips that are trimmed, you can miss context. Like, you can lose like a whole, like, even if a tiny sentence or a few words can really change the context of a speech. So when I noticed that this video was truncated and trimmed, it really did make me skeptical and made me think, okay, whoever sent this to on Microsoft and Business Insider, clearly they've got some kind of agenda, and clearly they're a disgruntled employee or whatever, or at least it's a possibility. Like if they'd sent the whole meeting through, and they were like, go to this time to see what she said, I would have found it more compelling. But because it was clipped out, it kind of reduces its context to some degree. But even without the context, some of the things she said during this meeting were not very kind, I want to say. She said something, basically the whole meeting, or at least in the clip. See, even I'm taking out of context right now. Like even in the clip, the meeting was about the culture of the team on the Mixer team. And she's basically saying, like, if you're not positive, then we won't get anything done, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that might seem fair enough, but it was just like the sort of way she was saying some of the stuff. Like she said, like, I'm not here to be sympathetic towards you and stuff like that. And that's some of the things that people took exception with, because the other part of this report was the employee had told Business Insider and on Microsoft that morale was really low at the company, and that basically they were working with a skeleton crew, and that, you know, they were struggling, and Microsoft didn't seem to care, and like all this sort of stuff, you know. So it doesn't exactly paint Mixer in a positive light at a time when it absolutely needs positive light and confidence. Like, it filters down. It really does filter down to the creators, and there aren't many creators working with the platform who really sort of even approach the level that they need to be for the platform to grow. Like, they've got like only a couple of streamers regularly do above 1,000 views, and like that includes like Ninja and stuff like that. Like, most streamers are getting like 100 views concurrently at a time, and like there was like, I literally wrote a report like a few weeks ago about how morale on the platform had really plummeted recently, and how like this new Shilpa Yadler employee was coming in, and she was going to like make things better and stuff like that. And I don't know, this isn't a great way to start a tenure, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I would say go to Windows Central and find the article if you want. Watch the clip for yourself and see, because a lot of people have like defended what she said and agreed with what she said. Like, yeah, you can't run a business without having a positive mindset and stuff like that. But I would like argue that you also can't lead if you're not willing to sort of listen to your employees' concerns and be a bit more sympathetic about things. Like, it doesn't exactly make a great first impression. And whoever this employee is who felt the need to leak this meeting, which, by the way, I've never seen anyone at Microsoft leak a meeting before. That's a first for me. I've seen people leak demos from internal meetings, like for games and stuff, but never an employee on stage putting them in like the spotlight like that. I've never seen anything like that before. That was a first for me. So that was very strange to have seen, and it must have been pretty embarrassing for like everyone involved. But
I'm surprised it hasn't been taken down off of YouTube yet. I'm surprised Microsoft hasn't.
Well, Microsoft provided a statement to Business Insider where they confirmed that it was real.
Well, I mean,
I think they realized that like they can't just pull it down now, because that just look bad too. And Microsoft seems to understand that you can't delete something from the internet. Like, say it. Nintendo would be out with subpoenas, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I watched that clip, and I watched it, and the thing I had to say is, yikes. Like, if I'm a streamer on Mixer, like, I'm thinking about moving, to be quite frank. Like,
well, I've had a lot of DMs today about it, and that's pretty much the sentiment right now.
I don't think Mixer has a future. I think they'll keep it around, because I do think they want to see... Because I think Microsoft is a little bit worried about not having the streaming platform to go along with their cloud platform, like Amazon will have with Twitch and Stadia has with YouTube, even though like Stadia is the biggest joke in the world right now. I do think they want to wait and see how that plays
Yeah,
out first.
You can't do that. I would argue.
I mean, I'd agree with you. You know what? Okay,
You have to invest. You have to try. And I mean invest properly. I don't mean invest in Ninja.
Here's the thing. If I was in charge and my decision came down to me, I'm Phil Spencer, because it'd probably be his decision. You invest in Mixer to make it what it is, which you may invest all the money in the world, and it may get you nowhere. You know what my decision would be? I'm cutting it loose. Goodbye, Mixer. Because, to me, I think they're just throwing good money after bad. I think they don't have any chance of getting any market share. I think streaming is going to decline. I think it was blown up because of Fortnite, and Fortnite's declining, so streaming's declining. If I was Xbox, I'd dump it right now. I know that sounds harsh, because you're going to have all these streamers out of careers or whatever, but that's what I would do. And watching that person, that boss, like they talked about in the article, like this, that people are getting fired at Skeleton Crew, morale's all like an all-time low, and she's just sitting there. You may feel like that. And maybe some of the stuff she's saying is right, but you can't go and say that to your like, I'm not here to sympathize with you. Like, come on, really? Like, is that what you're gonna say? And you're gonna say blah 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 negativity, blah 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 blah. Like, that's what your boss is gonna say. Can you imagine if Phil Spencer came out and said that? Yeah, I've heard your complaints about Xbox One and the DRM, blah 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 blah, negativity, blah blah. Like, I'm not here like sympathize. People would be like, screw this. You know what I mean?
Well, this is why I want to pray that it was taken out of context. Because
something tells me it's
without the context.
I don't think it's taken out. I mean, sure, incredible. It's a clip and it's taken out of context. I'm just looking at her. I'm like, is she the best person qualified to run Mixer?
Well, even if it is taken out of context, the fact that she couldn't put herself in a positive light and if that meeting had been conducted in a way that made everyone leaving there feel happy and positive, it wouldn't have leaked. And the fact that it leaked, and now that you've got like lots of streamers questioning their investment in the platform, and that's what it is. It's investment. It's a time investment. If you're like, the whole idea about Mixer right now is I'll invest in Mixer and then they'll invest in me back. And right now, it's not really looking like that's going to be viable, like for long-term success. And it sucks because I've got a lot of friends who are Mixer streamers, and I've got a lot of friends who are, either worked or are working at Mixer, and like they want to see the platform succeed. And it was an indie company, Mixer was an indie company before it joined Microsoft, and it was someone's baby. And when like all that team joined Microsoft, it was, scary. And I know this because our company was an indie company and we just got acquired by Future, and we're having to adapt to all these corporate rules and stuff like that. And, it's like, it's scary, and you just have to hope for the best and that everything's going to work out for the best in the end. And so far it is on our end, but the fear is obviously like, there's always this sort of fear when this sort of thing happens, and it doesn't look like that's been addressed very well. And when they come, like if our company had said something to us like, oh, we like, if like we get a new manager and they say to me like, oh, I'm not here to sympathize with you, just keep blogging or something, I wouldn't be very happy about it, Thankfully that hasn't happened, but I can understand like why people are pissed off about this. Yeah. And it does not bode well for confidence in the platform or the future of the platform.
Or anybody who sees this now, or anybody of the partners that are now and sees this, the way she's talking and how everything is, it's like, do you want to like quit your job and pursue your dream when 2 years from now Microsoft could be like, yeah, we're done. Sorry, Mixer's pulled. What do you do? Because like, do you go to Twitch with literally everybody else? And you're probably not going to make it at that point. It's just it's a tough situation. I feel bad for the employees there because it's like it's just weird because when they first changed it to Mixer, they had all these great ideas. unique features that Twitch just eventually just co-opted, and they just stopped innovating. They stopped it was just like, okay, here's what we had, and we stopped innovating. And I think for a lot of people, it was like that first E3 when they had Mixer, it just didn't work for people, and they're like, whatever. Like, I don't know, it's harsh. I watched that video and I'm just like, I mean, I don't know her, but like, if she was my boss, I wouldn't want to work there. I think there's no. I mean, sure, there's always potential, but honestly, I would dump Mixer right now. I think it's a waste. I think it's just a waste. I don't think you'll never make money on that. I don't think streaming blows up any more than it did with Fortnite. Maybe that's short-sighted thinking. Maybe that's why I'm not suited to run a $1 trillion company. But I think it's just, you know what? You take your money that you're spending on Mixer, and you invest it in things that actually are working. You invested in more games and more studios. You invested in better technology. You put the manpower and everything else somewhere else. Somewhere that could be more useful. Because I'm sorry, I just don't think Mixer has a future. I just really don't.
I think the part of the problem with Mixer is that it's sort of like it comes from a position of fear. It comes from a position of being afraid of YouTube and Twitch and not trusting them to sort of keep the platforms open, because there is a potentially a future where Google tries to lock out other platforms. There is a potential for that to happen. It could be that they get slapped by an antitrust probe or something, but it's I get where they're coming from, but it's at the same time it's kind of like it's hard to make a platform with that in mind. And the whole reason Mixer grew in the first place was because they weren't like running it with that mindset when they were an indie company. They were running it with the mindset of, oh, we're passionate about this and we want to make this work, And also they had like unique features. Unfortunately, they weren't unique enough that they couldn't be copied. And FTL was copied, and the co-streaming stuff was copied, and and now Amazon's once again innovating faster than Mixer, and Mixer can't keep up. And like, I don't see how Mixer can innovate when it's running with short staff, as per the report. So I worry, man. I worry for the employees of Mixer and the streamers of Mixer, and like I was a casual streamer. Like I'm technically
you're a partner, aren't you?
Yeah, Windows Central is like, well, it's mostly the podcast that's partnered now. But like, I used to, we partnered with Mixer for the podcast, like the Windows Central podcast, which is on every Friday, and they mostly talk about Windows stuff. Like, I'm not on it. It's like it's Zach Bowden and Daniel Rubino, and they talk about like Windows news and Microsoft stuff, and and stuff like that. But like, I used to stream on there as well, casually for fun. But the way the platform's been going and stuff like that, as someone who was just doing it for fun, I don't really feel inspired to do it anymore. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I couldn't believe that leaked. Just like you, I was like, and I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna go over well.
Shocked.
It's not gonna go over well. I don't know how they're gonna get in front of that, but you know what? I think we're a little bit over 2 hours, so we're gonna end the show here. But we're obviously gonna take questions. So if you can think of something you want to ask us, make sure you put it in chat. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Show Shady, FC Violent, even though he doesn't agree with my Mixer take and he said shaking my head. Iron Mike, Game Genie, Albert, Felony 187, Jason B, Brandon. Thank you guys for for being here. All the support. If you like the show, hit the like button. Subscribe. The podcast will obviously be up a little bit later after I download it and send it to Jez on iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff, so you can listen to it there if you want to. So let's get into some of these questions, Jez. You ready? So we got one from Face. He says, Jez, Rand, what's the reason you think Sony is waiting to reveal PS5 info? What do you think is the reason?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. Like PlayStation's commenting on PlayStation's hard for me because I don't really follow PlayStation that much. I don't have any PlayStation contacts or any like inside knowledge about PlayStation. So like when I think about like why wouldn't they be doing it, I try and think of it from a marketing perspective. But like I can't think of anything right now. I suppose like it's about like framing the messaging. And like there was those reports that they were waiting for Microsoft to reveal the price because it sounds to me like they know they're not more powerful. That's what it like. If I had to guess, and this is purely a guess, they know they're not more powerful than the Xbox Series X. So if they announce the specs now, that all that's going to do is say, "Oh, we're less powerful than the Xbox Series X." There's literally no point in them doing that. So what they're doing is waiting for a time they can announce something that's a bit more positive, i.e., a game that's enhanced for PlayStation 5, or a time where they can say definitively, "Oh yes, we are cheaper than the Xbox Series X," or something like that. They're waiting for something that they can put on as better than the Xbox Series X, and probably right now they don't have anything.
I mean that's definitely a good like theory. I mean that very well could be possible. I think people forget that it's a different PlayStation. It's Jim Ryan's PlayStation now. And Jim Ryan, does things like PlayStation Europe's in charge. It's no longer PlayStation America or Sony of America, Sony of Europe, Sony of Japan. It's now like he's in charge. It's a globe they kind of centralized. So like that could have a lot to do with it. And I think from what I was told, there's a lot of internal struggles was going on, a lot of power struggles. They stopped doing a lot of their shows, clearly. Maybe Jim Ryan's not really a fan of the big Dog and Pony show. So he's just like...
What's a Dog and Pony show?
Like the whole, hey, we're going to do PSX, we're going to go to E3, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, like Sony used to do. When Sean Layden was there, or the Jack Tretton days, like all those guys who made the PS4 the juggernaut that were all behind the market, they're all gone. Trenton's gone. Andrew House is gone. Sean Layden's gone. Shuhei Yoshida, he's an indie dude now. Like John Drake, he left. He's with Disney. The other guy who was a part of the this is how you share games. He's at Iron Galaxy. Gio Corsi's gone. I think he's at the people that do Predator. Like that whole team, they're gone. Cerny's the only one left, and he's the architect of the system. Like they're all gone. So it's like. Maybe they also feel like they don't have anybody who can present it very well because Jim Ryan, I mean, you saw him at CES. He's not the most personable or, like a great speaker. Although, like, maybe they just like, how are we going to do this? And I mean, they still have like Final Fantasy VII to sell. They still have Last of Us to sell. And they have the luxury of being the leader. So it's like, all right, we'll just wait.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, I think like they can afford to wait around and not rush it out. I think like people are super eager for information.
No, of course,
like,
yeah.
And like I think that's like the whole narrative about wanting to know something is sort of creating this sort of convenient way of saying that maybe Sony doesn't have anything to show for people who want to make Sony sound bad, but at the same time. The truth is that like they don't have to show anything. That like the fact they posted the logo and it was one of the most liked Instagram posts ever, kind of says to me that they can afford to play it slow and think about things properly. Like if they just knee jerk reacted and posted the specs and the specs are lower than the Xbox Series X, all that's gonna do is start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah,
they can wait. And present it with something that makes it sound like at least something that is definitively better than the Xbox Series X. Like, for example, there's rumors that the PlayStation 5 has a faster SSD. And that's why Microsoft didn't talk about the SSD speed in its own reveal, because they know that it's slower than the Sony's. And so maybe Sony can be like, well, this is what loading speeds are like on PlayStation 5, and here's what you can do with it and stuff like that. And maybe that like an angle that they go with. But those things take time, and maybe they just need to wait to see more of what Microsoft's hand is going to play. Microsoft's played its hand because it knows it's more powerful. That's what I believe.
I mean, I think that's true. I do agree with you. I think Microsoft knows what they have is more powerful and more expensive, so they want to talk about that, and be more forthright about it because that's a feather in their cap. And PlayStation's just like, well, we can't talk about the specs yet, so we'll just have to wait. But then, like I said, look, the last time Sony did a stage show, I believe, and I'm sure somebody will correct me in chat, is E3 2018. Because they didn't go to PSX that year. They didn't go to PSX last year, and they didn't go to E3 last year. Like that, then they started up State of Plays, which are the Nintendo Direct stuff, right? They dropped 2 Wired articles last year. This may just be the new Sony and how it intends to get across information to its user base. Whereas old Sony was about the pomp and the circumstance and the hype of the shows.
What was that show where they had a dude playing on a weird instrument?
That was E3 2018 when they showed off Ghost of Tsushima with the flute. I'm just saying, look at what Sony was from 2013 to 2018 and the shows they did, and then look how it changed right around the time Layden and Jim Ryan were fighting for control.
Do we actually know, by the way, sorry to butt in, but do we know why Sean Layden was hosted yet?
No, they haven't said anything. But I mean, one can only speculate. Maybe Sean. If the Horizon Zero Dawn rumors are true, who really knows? Maybe Sony's more expanding and he more want. I don't know. You could speculate for days, but I'm saying my whole thing is Sony may just may be the new Sony. Why do events when we can do State of Plays like Nintendo does? You see all the fuss that happens over Nintendo Direct.
Oh God, yeah,
it's ridiculous. they don't and Sony essentially is a bigger brand, so they could potentially get even more. They don't necessarily need to do that. I know the fanboys. They want the stage show. They want people up there talking about it with the stuff. But Sony themselves may just be we're going to go with this. Now,
it's also kind of if you can't go head to head, with someone, you walk around the side. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're just being well, let Microsoft have the stage shows, and our fans will rally around us and just say, oh well, stage shows are dumb anyway. Because that's the way opinion works nowadays.
Yeah.
It's if you can spin anything as bad if you're passionate enough about it and you're able to lie to yourself enough about it.
The PlayStation fans love the stage show. Now they're all who needs it? Who needs E3 and any of this stuff? We just love 20-minute directs. You know what I mean?
So I don't think they need the stage shows anyway, but I also think they don't have much to show right now.
I mean,
and they're just thinking about how to do it.
They're going to have to show it. Now, they could do another Wired article anytime soon here. They're not going to GDC, so I think they don't have to worry about specs leaking. They can do a PlayStation Now at any point in time. Maybe that's how they get around the fact that they don't really have any prominent speakers. They can just easily curate it and just do a 25-minute show, 30-minute show. Maybe they invite the press around maybe May. Before E3 and show it off and show off the games, because they're gonna have to at some point, because they're gonna have deals with third parties, and those third parties are going to want to start marketing their games, and they're probably waiting for Sony to reveal that stuff. You know what I mean? So they can't really wait that long. It's it's E3 time, and that's it has to happen.
It almost feels like disrupting the whole organization in the run-up to a console launch was a really bad idea. It's almost like that was a bad idea. And it's almost like the power struggles could usurp what would otherwise be a tremendous console. I'm sure it's going to be a tremendous console anyway, but all these organizational things, and they can disrupt things. We've seen it happen at Microsoft all the time.
Yeah.
Reorgs happening, disrupting things, messing things up. It happens at Microsoft all the time, so maybe it's Sony's turn to have a big, nasty reorg.
So Spider-Man wants to know, how's the coronavirus affecting Germany?
I think there are a few cases. Nobody's really that bothered about it yet. I don't think there's been a huge outbreak yet, like there has been in Italy. Like Italy's struggling with it right now. But I'm in South Germany, and like Italy's like just over the mountains behind me. So who knows? I could be dead in a few weeks.
So Greg E3 Egg wants to know: do you think Phil will tell his studios to up the graphical ante on the next generation of games?
I don't think they're gonna dictate graphical fidelity to any dev.
No, I don't. I mean, Phil, I kind of already said that him and Matt don't really get into the creative side of things. I mean, they might have like business things like your game needs to do this, and we need to drive this amount of whatever, subs to Game Pass or whatever. But I don't think it'd be like, no, your game needs to look like this. They'll let them build the games that they want to build, right?
Yeah, I think like it's because there's this whole narrative that a lot of Xbox games have this sort of stylized art and they're not photorealistic, and whereas Sony does a lot more work with photorealistic games. I don't think that's necessarily intentional.
Yeah,
I mean, Hellblade looks just otherworldly in its quality. But I would like to see more games like Hellblade, but we'll have to wait and see.
So Jason B says, will Lockhart be at least 6 teraflops? The rumors was that it was 4, and I think Microsoft was trying to get it as cheap as possible. So I think it'll be 4, and I think they're going to try to hit $299.
I think the idea with Lockhart is to have a console that's as cheap as possible, that can have as many of the next gen specs features as possible. Like, they want to have it with the fast loading stuff and the instant access to games and that sort of thing. But they also want it to be the most accessible next gen quote unquote console on the market. So do with that what you will, I guess.
Jason McJackson says, great podcast, guys. Question: do you think we will get more backwards compatibility games next gen, such as Sneak King? Millions are demanding it, but no response.
Yeah, so Microsoft stopped doing more work on backwards compatibility because they were trying to. The team that worked on the licensing for backwards compatibility is now working on the licensing for xCloud games. The thing is, like, eventually they'll run out of games that they can realistically get onto xCloud, probably. Mm-hmm. So, and also backwards compatible games can come to xCloud too, because it's all on the same system. So personally, I do want to believe they'll go back to backwards compatibility eventually, because I would like to see Max Payne 3 on backwards compatibility. Like
I would, yeah. I mean,
all the Max Paynes actually.
I'll take a Max Payne 3 remaster. Like
I'll do that too. But
I love Max Payne.
Theoretically, you could get like all the Max Paynes because they were on the OG Xbox too, right?
True. That's true.
So like, if anyone from Rockstar's listens to this, sort it out.
Yeah, get it working.
Get it working. But yeah, I'd like them to go back to that.
They need to make a Max Payne 4. I'm sure they could. I want to see a new Max Payne. Halo Collector.
Oh yeah.
Which I totally forgot about this topic, but we can talk about it here. Do you think the release date for Halo Infinite is October? The Halo merch has an October release date, so there was all the guns, the Nerf, like the different guns and all the Mega Block stuff for Halo Infinite. True. What are you thinking? Like,
it's hard to say because like they've got Diablo 4 merchandise already, but that game ain't coming out for a long time. So maybe not. It's hard to like tell, but I do think like October is a pretty standard launch date for that kind of game, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we really know is that whenever Series X launched, Halo will be there with it. So if Halo's launching in October, that would imply Series X would be launching in October.
Yeah, maybe.
So
or maybe it'll launch earlier than October.
Wait, what? You mean what? You mean well? I mean, holiday 2020, Jazz. I mean, like.
Yeah, maybe.
When does technically holiday 2020 start?
I don't know. Maybe like, could it be like, I don't know. Is the summer holiday technically a holiday? I don't know.
No, if he's listening to this special ed from Xbox era, he's probably because he's been going on and on and on about Series X coming out in September. Like, he will not give it up. He thinks Series X is coming out in September.
That'd be interesting.
I would love it. Like, who here who's still I mean, because I know a lot of people leave after we end the show and do the questions. But who here would love to have Series X in September and not have to wait till November? Anybody? Because I would love to have it in September. Like, because I've been thinking, like, we'll get it in November. And it's like,
it's not often that it's not often that hardware gets, like, usually hardware gets delayed. But every now and then, hardware gets moved forward. So, who knows?
With that, I think we'll probably answer one more. Do you think, we got one from Darkskin Romeo, do you think it'll be less likely that Sony will take a loss per PS5 sold due to the Series X smart delivery feature since they feel pressure to add this feature now? I think Sony was probably already working on that feature of their own. I think they're worried. It kind of goes back to what Jez was saying. I think Sony was a little bit worried about Microsoft taking a loss to sell Series X at 500 when Sony doesn't want to take a loss to sell it at 400. And, like, I don't think they want to be the same price. Even though it'll probably sell more, they'll sell more PlayStation 5s. I don't think they want to be the same price. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I think, like, they want to beat them. The goal, obviously, is to beat them on both. But, like, if they know they're not going to be more powerful, they have to beat them on price. So, like, I think that's why they're waiting. They're taking this wait and see approach, and that's exactly what Business Insider said they were doing. So,
yeah. Let me see here. Anything else? We got the super chat from P Diddy. Yakuza's hot fire. Thanks, guys. You are great. Thank you for all the support. And yeah, I think that's going to be the last question for the day. I see Kid Smooth is in the chat. What's up, Kid? He says, but production would need to start fairly soon. I believe it's late October or early November. I mean, it's February. You know, if the systems were coming out by September, I don't know the lead in on that. I'm just saying I would love to have it in September. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It'd be nice. it'd be really nice. I'll take that. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you follow me and Jez on Twitter. Links are in the description. You can check out Jez. When do you normally post your articles? Like on Windows Central?
Windows Central. You can find them more easily on windowscentral.com/gaming, or download the Windows Central app for Windows 10 PC. It hides all the ads, by the way. So if you wanna get an ad-free experience, there's a pro tip for you. But yeah, windowscentral.com/gaming for all our gaming stuff, and for all our everything Windowsy stuff, just windowscentral.com. But yeah, it's like today's been so stressful, but like coming here and spending time talking games with you and the people in chat is like really awesome. I really appreciate the support, everyone.
Yeah, really do. If you enjoyed the show, obviously hit the like button and subscribe. And we'll try to be back on Wednesday next week. Hopefully there'll be some new great stuff to talk about as well. So keep it gaming and enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I'm going to be playing Darksiders Genesis, and cross my fingers I get Ori 2 soon. Ori and Will of the Wisp.
Good luck, man. What if it's like got pay to win stuff in it?
Jazz, don't even start with me. Don't even start. Later, guys.